Oh, cool. Hi.
We're alive.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atlaran Adventuring Company. What the fuck?
What?
What was that sound?
Oh, how many of you have seen Xanadu? Show of hands. Wow, all of you are terrible. It's the opening song to Xanadu, you assholes.
I only know
you
Xanadu.
Uncultured fucks.
Yeah.
I know there's roller skating.
There's
Anyway.
Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho.
And
Hello,
Gene Kelly.
everybody, and welcome to the Atlaran Adventuring Company. I am your Dungeon Master, Taiylor Wallace, and joining me I have Astrid tonight.
Hello, you can find me basically everywhere at Astrid K. Writes or my website, astridnight.com. Here's a book. You might be wondering, hey, that book. It's a book, and I wrote it, and it's about D&D. You can
What
find
happened
it
to
where
your
all
script?
I just love, you might be wondering, hey, that book, nothing else to that thought.
Taiylor, bold of you to assume Ash ever had a script.
Well,
No,
no,
I didn't.
She says something like, do you like books about D&D and being sad? Well, I've got the book for you.
Yeah.
It's
This
that
one.
Hold it central.
For the whole stream. It will just be
Oh my god.
Alright. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I also have Blake Wolfe.
Hi, I'm Blake Wolfe, and I have a question for you. Do you like pies with cream in them?
Yeah. Oh,
Here they
those.
are.
I'm turning off the stream.
And what if those pies were butts?
Oh, yeah, I write werewolf smut. Book 4 is coming out in 2 days. And then there's also this atrocity that I wrote about a cow with a sword. Yep. That's
If you
it.
like movie references, you'll fucking love it.
It is ridiculous. I am made of movie references, so
You are.
and song reference. Did you get to the point where he sings does a rendition of I Will Survive?
What chapter's that in?
I don't fucking know. It's one of the earlier ones.
I'm on chapter 9. I don't remember.
It's
so
when
many-
it's when he's doing CPR.
No, haven't gotten there yet.
Okay,
I
cool.
got to the
Cool.
to the dildo that turned out to be murder hornets
Yes, that's
Yeah.
important.
and Rick, and I got to Rick.
Oh yeah,
and
Rick.
Chester.
Yeah.
God,
Oh, CPR comes later. Yeah, after Clark Cluckerberg.
haven't met him yet.
Yeah.
Only met Jeff.
So that's
Clark
what I
Cluckerberg,
do.
robot chicken.
Can I
With
say
an-
though, like,
with an abnormally high hairline.
okay, the one thing in like this book that I like truly love to the bottom of my heart and wish I knew how to do myself is you turn Destiny into a character that's
Yeah,
like
I
a
did, yeah.
total bitch,
Uh-huh.
and I love it. She's so mean. But anyway, we also have,
There's at least 5 thickly muscled horses in there for you. I made sure to add them.
yeah. You think We also have Zack Gale. Hi, buddy.
Ah,
This is my book.
Oh god.
Some Empty Houses by Really Be Haunted. It's full of spooky stuff and short fiction
And cool monsters.
and cool monsters and sad.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
That's a theme with this group.
yeah, it is. We're
But also, hey, if you like your
millennials.
werewolf straight,
yeah,
We don't do that.
yeah,
don't do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean you do in yours?
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Oh,
just,
okay,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
yeah,
just one.
yeah.
Like, we don't do that here. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, gobble gobble. That's what I'm
Oh.
going to say to that one.
We have all
Thanks,
the
dude.
sexualities
Not
covered
turkey
here.
time.
I've got the asexual werewolves covered. You guys have the gay and potentially bi and or straight ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're good.
I
yeah,
got some bi werewolves.
I don't have any werewolves.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge werewolf fan.
You're
yes.
missing out. They're so sexy.
They
The
really
next one,
are,
the
though.
next one should be about a warehouse.
A warehouse.
I hate that.
That meme is so dumb.
Well,
It's a full
Santa
moon.
sent it to me. Santa sent it
Oh my
to
god,
me
I'm
when
full
I
of
sent it to
product.
Harris. Full of product, did you say? That just hit me. Christ. All right.
Like, I was
Koop.
not even paying attention.
We also have our long-suffering stream master
I'm fine.
and hashtag normal guy. Zack.
My Twitter feed has been irreversibly changed by what Blake regularly posts there, to the point where now the algorithm thinks that's what I want to see. And so now it's just
It's
full
just furry artwork
of
for days.
furries and smut. Yep.
If
That's
it
welcome.
helps,
That's what I have to share today.
if it helps, Ben's TikToks have turned, like, most of my TikTok is, like, calibrated to what I want, and then occasionally I just get a cavalcade of monster fuckers.
It's because I subscribed to Twitter to see if it helps with sales, and now it's like force feeding you guys all my content.
I'm cool with it.
Sorry.
I like werewolves. Anyway, and as I mentioned, my name is Taiylor Wallace, Dungeon Master Editor at one point or the other for several of these illustrious authors.
Ooh, illustrious.
You can find me. You can find me at Taiylor Wallace. Make sure you misspell Taylor with the IY, or you'll never find me. Wow, nobody did it.
Why? Oh, shit.
Hey,
I was
Sorry.
like, I feel
we're at a
betrayed.
funeral, okay? We
We're
have
not
to
at a
be.
funeral. We're at a transition point. It'll be fine.
Just moving
Anyway,
on to the next life.
this intro is supposed to be like 3 minutes. We're at 7.
We don't have anything important to do today.
Nah.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, all of our links are in the link tree on screen. I swear to God, sometimes we're faster than this.
Sometimes.
If you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, you will find the links in the description below as well. And that is my child in the background. And if you like our stream and want to support us, especially as we're getting ready for campaign 3, check out our Red Bubble.
A ribbaboo.
Red Bull.
Red leather,
Give it
yellow
a
leather.
ribbaboo.
Anyway,
The Human
Hello,
Torch was
welcome.
denied a bank loan.
welcome to the final stream of the Wanderlust campaign,
Maybe.
in which there's just no rules. There's just no rules anymore. It's gone off the rails. Titan, shut the fuck up, or I will toss you out this window.
If you do
So-
it, get it on camera so we go viral.
For
Not
all
for
the
good
wrong reasons.
Not for good
Yeah.
reasons, yeah.
Listen, I'll take money. I'll take money either way. So
I'll take your
last
dirty blood money.
time-
Fine,
Yeah.
give it to me.
Last time,
Money's money.
Dragon Ball Z.
shut the fuck up. I love you, but shut up. Last time, you guys were in the, we ended kind of the main, like, character part of the campaign where you guys were in the break and, tying up some loose ends. Titan, shut the fuck up. And, you guys learned exactly what happened to the Stella. And you went and picked up Waithen's body and took her to Haven for a funeral. That was the first half of last session, and God, it was heavy.
Yep.
But after that, we got to kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about what you guys were doing after the day that I have decided to name Stjernafall. Noah went on to raise the Stella from where she wrecked. Let's see here, what else? We managed to get Nora into the mix 5 years later. That was fun. There was a party. Ulgar showed up, gave you the almost dead soul of Styonyx. That was cool. Christmas
Now the
went
party's
on
killed
several.
3 gods.
Christmas went on some side quests, became the Lord of Horses, as well as some other things. You guys helped liberate Krieg, or well, I don't know if Magda went, and I don't know if Noah was there.
No,
But-
I don't think Magda would.
Yeah, you guys liberated Kriegheim, managed to recover Ryzen's remains, though you ended up not resurrecting him. He did not want to return. Let's see. Oh, I made a very special note that Noah made a baby Bjorn out of Waithen's armor for
Mhm.
Rodri.
Yep.
And it is now canon that Rodri is holding on to that for his own kids.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. Grandma's little baby Bjorn, so cute. Anyway, one of the first epilogue things we went over was Noah, sort of his life for 15 years after Steer and Fall, culminating in him disappearing into thin air with the Stella and her crew. They're gone, girl.
Gone girl.
And I took that and I started writing, and then I started throwing more people into here. A couple, or maybe only one of you, I don't know, threw in some things you had questions about in my epilogues list.
Yep.
But I guess where I'm sitting now is we had some stuff to resolve for Christmas and Foostrak, and sort of the latter part of Foostrak's life, I guess. And then what Christmas is doing once most, if not all, of y'all are dead.
Dogehype.com is back in our comments. Dogehype.
Is that a good thing?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a bot.
Oh.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
grab the broom, just like get.
Yeah.
You into
Sounded
an
like
exploding star.
the sheriff from Robin Hood for a second, Ben.
Yeah,
I wish I could do
that's
that
fine.
voice.
I can't do that voice at all.
Dang, I swear to God.
If you want, I'll go first, and it'll take me like 3 minutes, and then I'll both literally and figuratively hand this over to Foostrak.
Also, fair warning, this stream may not end up being 4 hours. I don't know where we're
I'd
going
be
to go
shocked if it does.
Yeah.
That's
We
okay.
might fuck around enough that it could be.
Right.
Or we might have enough questions and stuff to talk about that it might be, but we'll see. But yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I forgot something really important last time, and I need to make sure that I bring it up now because it, I think, is indicative of me as a person and Christmas as a parent, that he would forget his own child. Because yes, about 8-9 years after the events of Steer and Fall, Maeve Fortunemær is born, and she is incredibly sad when Noah is gone, but she has sort of built up this idea in her mind of what Noah was like based off of the very few memories that she has of him as a small child, and she worships the fucking ground that Noah walked on. She takes after Noah probably more than her own father, because she's a child, and the idea of blowing things up is exciting to her.
It also probably doesn't help that Christine is still around, and Chips is still around, and Delphine is around. We'll get to Delphine in a second. I've got a whole story.
For the second half of my stuff, because I'm not going to get too much into what Maeve is like, because I have to hand her off to my dungeon master. But anyway, for the second half, Reginald Bandencret IV returns home several years after the events of Steer and Fall. It's assumed that he was caught up some way in the events with the Cult of the Eternal, because the Bandencrets were helpful towards the Atlaran Adventuring Company with loaning them their horses and stuff like that. People have just kind of come up with all sorts of crazy rumors about what happened to Reginald Bandencret IV.
Are you talking about the Atlaran Mercenary Company?
That's what I meant to say, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
No, don't you guys remember when all the players got horses sent to our homes?
Yeah.
But anyway, Reginald Bandencret IV returns home, never marries, never has any children, and after his parents pass away, he takes over ownership of Bandencret Ranch, runs it for a while, turns it into sort of a smaller business, focuses more on, raising individual horses rather than like large groups of them, and eventually grows into an old man, becomes very good friends with a neighboring farm, which is owned and run by the Wildborns, including Foostrak Wildborn, one of the heroes of... I don't know what the events would be called. I guess Steernafall is the event that happened, but anyway, one of the nobodies of great repute. But anyway, he ends up handing over Bennicret Ranch to Foostrak's family, and then removes his glamour because it was actually Simulacrum Christmas who had been true polymorphed into regular Christmas the whole time, and dies as Reginald Bennicret IV returns to the Feywild to keep working alongside actual Christmas. The end. I'm out.
Cool.
Oh, bye.
I'll take over some of that. No.
What wasn't there a couple of things that that Koop wanted to role play for this?
Not anymore, apparently. Unless he
Yeah,
wants to
he's-
roleplay his
he's gone.
funeral. He's pretty dramatic.
Wow, he really is just gone, isn't he?
If he
We
comes
just
back with
we
a bag
just
of
start
chips.
hearing him take a piss in the background.
I
Oh my
have
God,
been
he's really not
terrified
going
of
back.
that this entire time. Every time we go on break, I'm like, is my headset up? Is everything muted? Oh my God.
All right, Harris, if you've got stuff to add.
All right, I guess Koop's gonna miss the good stuff.
Yeah.
I guess. What a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there.
Oh, wait, no, he coming.
All right, here he comes. Oh,
Nope.
wait, no, there he goes.
No, I'm just kidding.
I feel
As
like
if he
you
has
can
his
hear us
headphones
through
on and
the
he heard me
headset.
call him a
Probably,
dick.
yeah.
Anyway, we don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So about 6 months after the party, where where Ulgar shows up and brings us the soul of Styonyx, and Nora was there.
Mhm.
Nora and Foostrak keep in touch, writing letters, visiting every now and then, but it isn't until like 6 months after that Foostrak's like, okay, I feel like I've gotten to know you well enough that, like, yeah, maybe we can see where this is going. And yeah, they hit it off pretty well. So Foostrak and Nora end up kind of being a thing. A while after that, Foostrak actually asked Nora to join his Peacemaker team, which has been dubbed the Anvil because they are strong and they are stalwart. They are always there and ready to help, build, and ready to, stand against something that's wrong. A while after that, Foostrak reaches out to Gwyn and Christine to get a magic tattoo done. The tattoo is done in gold ink, and on the backs of both of his hands, he has the moons for LN with a hammer on them. So it's kind of a bit of both LN and Zerai put together.
Quick question. You know the moons are both of them.
Well, yeah, but the moons are typically used to symbolize LN, from my understanding.
The two moons together are both of them. The pale moon by itself as a crescent is LN.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's the crescent and...
Okay.
And
I mean, you don't have to change it. I'm
over.
just...
We gotta go back to the drawing board. We gotta do it all
we gotta
over
go all the way
again.
back.
Damn it.
Yeah.
All the way back
Rewind.
to when we met LN. Fuck.
Magda walks into the AMC office in Turisaz and is being a bitch.
Except this time there's a stupid dude in a green coat there.
Start it all over.
God, that would have gone so much differently if Christmas was with us from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm kind of glad I wasn't.
Yeah.
That's not a knock against you guys. It's just it's a fun narrative thing.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not necessarily glad that you weren't with us. I just think you came in at a good time.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, yes. Continue.
So the tattoo, the tattoos on the back of his hand, they have lines that go up the arms, with bands that go around the forearms and the upper arms, and they eventually kind of connect into the phoenix mark. So now when he rages, the tattoos glow gold. Just as kind of like a little badass thing. But also, they have this same effect as a ring of protection, because it's a magic tattoo. In 512 E1AC, so approximately 10 years after the defeat of Sav, Foostrak invites everyone to Wildborn Farms. And while you're all there is a statue of Weathin, a life-size statue of Weathin, holding her hammer in the air, and sitting on the statue at the base is an urn with what is left of her ashes. There is also this huge lumpy tarp-covered thing in the courtyard as well. And while everyone is there, Foostrak uses Giant's Might to get big and pulls the tarp off of it. And it is a statue of all of us. Oh. It's a wooden statue of everyone in the Nobodies all together.
All 9 of you? Oh, God.
Yeah. And, like, there's seams in the bases where, like, each one is, like, carved individually, and then they kind of had to be, like, put together in place. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's seams in the bases where you can see where, like, they were each individually made. And they're not perfect. Foostrak is not an amazing wood carver, but he's proficient enough from his time with the Phalon to be able to do something that at least resembles all of us. And then he asks everyone to come out to the wood shop. And Jasper marries him and Nora.
Aw. Cute.
Oh, they're a polycule now.
What? Oh, no.
I know what you meant.
Wait,
I was just
yeah.
fucking with you.
It took me a second. I was like, wait, what? And then in 514 E1AC, Finn is born. Finn is a male Geary. And ends up, Foostrak never even asked, but Nora was like, do you want to name him after Weathin? And Foostrak was like, yeah. And then 2 years later, Vera is born, and she is a female Minotaur. All of the kids start being trained in, like, hand-to-hand combat and physical combat, like more melee stuff, around 10 years old, because they need to know how to defend themselves. Like, Foostrak knows that as wonderful as Atlaran is, there is danger out there, and the kids
horrifying.
need to be able... Yeah.
Yeah. No,
like
Taiylor runs this place. It's wonderful and horrific.
Yeah.
Like gay rights, but also die.
And not specifically the gays.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We need a shirt.
I'm not too precious with my gays, though.
And, you know, he keeps traveling around with the anvil and doing the things that need to be done, reporting to Christmas, when there are kind of bigger events that may require his attention. He, as the World Overseer Commission starts popping up more and becoming more of a thing, Foostrak definitely warns Christmas about them, because he's like, Overseer is a very strong word. And that shit is scary. But when he's not on mission, the family does travel. They go to Garrel Shell, and they go to Mount Gear, and they go to Thuragreer, and they even visit the true Jotun Circle. And they travel to Arborea so that Foostrak can see his roots, like where his family came from.
You'll actually probably find family there.
Oh, almost surely.
Yeah, like your cousins and shit.
He would also visit Kelfaro and go back to Manaz and visit Asha.
Hmm.
And he would, of course, visit the Boragos and visit Morrigan. So all of them would kind of be mainstays in his family's life as they grow. In 4E2 AC, on a mission, Foostrak is getting to be about 80 at this point, and he's starting to slow down. And an enemy manages to kind of get the drop on him because he just isn't fast enough anymore. And he gets pretty badly injured. He takes a really deep gash in his leg, and he ends up losing an eye. And he decides to retire at that point. He's just, he's mortal. So getting older is catching up with him. Once the leg heals, he's able to walk around fine for the most part, but he limps when it rains because it bothers him more. And after a few more years, he starts to need a cane when it rains. And then probably about 10 years after that, he starts needing a cane full time. And Koop, I know that you had something that you wanted to role play.
Mm-hmm.
And this would probably be the best time for that.
Okay. Ash, you're next.
Okay.
I don't have a baby. I don't have a baby to hold.
Well, you were holding the baby, so
Not that baby.
Oh.
But yes.
So, Koop, just so you know, you'll want this to be before 43 E2 AC.
Stop.
Hello.
At this point, Chris has a lot of eyes and ears in a lot of places, but particularly on his friends. And this is a day I think that he's been dreading for a while. Noah was a very sudden kind of like he's just gone and he doesn't know what's going on there. And I'm sure that by this point Chris has lost other people too. But this is the first time probably, I don't know how long Magda is planning on living.
I mean, Magda's human, and like Foostrak was 40 years before he dies. So
Magda's probably dead already.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, depending on, it's entirely up to Ash, but
here's what I will say.
Magda with a normal human's lifespan could have made it to the next era and like almost as long as Jasper.
Here's what I'll say. I know that like Magda has like been healed from a lot of like stuff that was happening with Sav within her, but I feel like messing around with like all the acidic stuff in her blood and like all the other stuff, she'd probably not live as long.
Well,
I would probably say she could make it to maybe like 65 or 70.
That brings up an interesting thought though, because like blood hunters are basically witchers.
Well, but she went from Order the Mutant, which is in like a poison immune class, to Order the Magpie, which is acid resistant. The poison resistance is kind of the thing.
Well,
so, I don't know.
I was mostly just inquiring because I don't know how we want to treat blood hunters. Like, obviously, Magda is your character, Ash, but I'm just thinking, like, Witchers live a really long time. Well,
I choose to
no,
believe
they don't, but their lifespan is technically longer. They all die violent, horrible deaths. But,
You're lucky you're like Geralt and make it to like 100 something.
Yeah.
I personally think if you mess around that much with your, like, makeup and your blood, that it might have some detrimental effects on you. So I would say,
Canon. Love it.
Listen, there's people that smoke and eat bacon every day of their lives and they live to like 105. And then there's people that are super healthy and they die when they're 60. So it really, you can do whatever you want. So let's just leave it alone. But yeah, Gwen definitely does outlive Magda, even though she's older than her, because Geary tend to have slightly longer lifespans. I did want to add, because I feel like this is something so kind of weirdly poetic and sad. The day Gwen dies, the cabin burns down.
Oh.
That is sad.
No.
No pets lost, no birds lost, but the cabin just ceases to be.
So, do we want to rewind then and do Magda before we do Foostrak?
Probably.
Cool.
What other stuff do we have to do for Magda?
I'm curious what Magda's last days look like.
Oh, that's fine.
Jesus. I don't know. I don't think she lives to be like decrepit elderly is my thing. I think she's probably like in her later 60s or something. And I think it might be like, I think it'll be like a peaceful thing, like, you know, she just goes in her sleep. So I think she's just kind of living her life pretty normally leading up to the last days. So just taking care of stuff around the cabin and, you know, hanging out with Gwen, taking care of the birds.
Having that lovely, boring life.
Yep.
Just that nice, content, boring, nothing being nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
I will add this in for you. Because I did a little extra writing on some of your epilogues that kind of evolves separate from you guys. So, of course, Magda had the Wrenly cobbler's business. Hector probably made it close to 100, so like you had a good long time to like enjoy having that good relationship with him. Yeah, you had that business. Gwen was like a renowned tattoo artist to the point that people would come out to the island just to see her. She mostly spent her time hunting or designing or like woodworking. In fact, I imagine she and Foostrak like shared a lot of stuff back and forth on that. But Ash, you mentioned how Magda would occasionally like check in with like the guard or the priests up at the temple and be like, hey, you need an extra hand. And one of the things that Magda is kind of immortalized for, though I don't think she would ever see it in her lifetime necessarily, is that even decades after she's gone, little kids in Hjolmenir love to tell stories about the Valkyrie of Hjolmenir. Yeah. The winged woman who would fly around patrolling when things got a little dicey or a little dangerous or pirates were around. So she gets a little local legend there in Hjolmenir, to the point that eventually a mason carves a relief of her into the side of the mountain near the temple.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Do we think, because I wanted to roleplay these if possible.
What?
Does Magda know that it's coming? Or would it be no? Okay.
Yeah.
Then you would not receive a visit from Christmas.
Oh. That's sad.
Not omnipotent.
Yeah.
I think probably the only one then that would be somewhat expected would be Foostrak then. Just due to deteriorating health and how long he's been there. So, yeah. Harris, if you want to set the scene, there will be a knock. Well, no, you'd be sitting outside on your porch.
Yep.
Playing
I was just going to
Rocking
say,
chair.
he's like, but literally, like, he's sitting out there on the porch. He probably has glasses now, but they're just like the little, like, they pinch the nose.
Pince nez, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you wear a monocle?
Oh, yeah.
Monocles.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Unless you want me to give you your eye back, because I can technically do that.
So he still has the eye. It's just like blue. It's just like a dead eye, basically, with a big scar where the blow hit him. But he still wears the glasses because he finds that wearing the monocle and like kind of like having to like wedge it in there, it just gives him a headache. So he doesn't like it. He does wear an eye patch some days, though. He actually has they're just like stick-on kind of eye patches, and he has one that Rodri made for him at one point. And it's not like Rodri isn't like a super artistic kid. But I mean, by that point he was an adult anyway.
Right.
But like, yeah, but like it's definitely like the Father's Day ugly tie, but an eye
patches instead.
Yeah, but it's an eye patch. So Foostrak wears that one for special occasions. But yeah, he's sitting on his porch in a rocking chair, just kind of dirtling around on a guitar because he doesn't have much else to do right now, and he can't do much else.
You would, just from up the road, you would just start see someone walking, like they appear down the road, because I think Chris has probably learned on multiple occasions you can't just teleport into people's houses. So he would show up down the road. It's also
boarded.
Yeah. And then he would cross he would apparate outside of the Hogwarts grounds. And then he would walk down the road.
Buck turfs.
But you would just start seeing Chris looking, aside from his clothes, like the day you met him. The only difference being that one of his eyes is purple, the other is hazel. And he just has, he's gotten somehow more, but also less dramatic over time. So while he does still like to keep the ears a little pointed, they're not nearly as dramatically long as they used to be when he was like, look, I'm a archfey now. He still keeps them pointed, but a little bit more subdued. And he is wearing much more subdued clothing as well. It's sort of just like blacks and dark grays and browns and stuff like that. And he would just make his way up your front walkway up to your house. And a cat cries off in the distance.
Not mine.
And I don't think that he would greet you or say anything at first. He would just walk up onto the porch and just sit down on your porch nearby you.
Oh, there's multiple chairs.
And just listen to you play for a little while.
Oh, Chris, it's been a little bit.
For you. I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's actually you, which is more surprising.
I like the idea that after a while, Foostrak could just tell which one was the real Christmas and which one was the simulacrum.
Yeah, varying levels of stupidity.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell, too.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I make visits like this, I still gotta be busy elsewhere, but yeah, it's me.
How's it going out there?
It's good. It's going good. It's been a long time since we, well, nothing quite like that has happened again over all these years, but it's like it could be tomorrow, it could be another 120 years from now. Could be 1,000 years from now, but I don't know. We're still as ready as we can be.
Yeah. You know, I'll be kicking around here for as long as I can. I'm getting old, Chris. I'm just an old man with a limp. Barely wipe his ass half the days.
I hate this.
If you, if you ever need help with that, you just...
Ew.
Oh, you offering?
No, I'm not. I'm offering to send someone to help you.
No. Vera comes down and checks in on me pretty regularly.
How's Nora doing?
She's okay. You know, she's tough. But I know that it hurts her a little bit seeing me having a little bit more trouble. I feel like I maybe got another 5 years left in me.
Only that.
I mean, you say that, but it kind of feels like an eternity for me at this point. You know, you get old like this. Well, not you, but me. Sometimes you start to have some regrets and you start thinking about things that could have been or should have been. And if I grabbed her off of Stav's belt or walked away from all this when I had the chance. But can't change any of that. And if we had, there'd be a whole lot of people out here that wouldn't be alive or would be hurt. We've done a lot of good, but we've had to make a lot of sacrifices along the way. Chris, since I got you, there's something you should probably know. You have a group of us that help you. At some point, one of those people is going to have to sacrifice too much, too soon. And they're going to try and put a knife in your back. Ain't me, but you need to keep an eye on the people close to you, too. You've always done a good job keeping an eye on us, but I was here to give you perspective. And I worry what's going to happen with you when I'm not here.
Me too. You shouldn't have a single regret. None. You've lived a damn good life. You've been an even better friend. And I don't think the words exist that I could speak into existence for how grateful I am for what you've done. Not just for me, but for everyone that you've met.
Those are kind of the things that keep me going. It's hard not to let the what ifs and the regrets creep in when you're just sitting here on a porch every day. But those are the things that remind me that it was all worth it. It's what she would have wanted. And he looks at like that statue of Weofin that's definitely become weathered. Like it's a hardy wood and it's been preserved as best as Foostrak can, but it's definitely showing a little bit of wear. She would have been okay with it. Nora doesn't even mind the statue or the fact that I still miss her sometimes, which goes to show how good she is. I still feel guilty about it from time to time. Of course, if one for you, I don't think that she and I would have gotten to see each other again.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You've made the last... She's made the last 100 years quite a bit better. Not being alone. Because I don't know what I would do if it was just Rodri and me. It was hard raising him those first few years because I didn't know shit.
It's a hell of a kid.
Yeah, you've been keeping an eye on him, right?
Yeah, he's a little bit too much like you, honestly, but he
a little more magical.
Yeah, he's a good kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore. He's a good man.
Yeah, I did my best. As long as he's staying safe when he's out there on missions. I know you don't really need to eat anymore, but I think I got some I can scrounge up if you want.
Why don't you think that I need to eat?
I mean,
you've been to my parties, you've been to my feasts. We like that's the we.
Just because you do it doesn't mean you have to. Vesper doesn't have to eat, but she does.
Well,
wherever the hell she is now.
She's around.
I figure she probably pops in every now and then. I have an apple tree at the farm specifically for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I will add this. She is the only Lycari who pops up occasionally because she visits the Phalon. But she has never told you where she goes or why.
Oh, and I probably don't bug her about it either.
Yeah. She's gotten better at, like, standing up for herself, so even if people, like, demanded it, she'd be like, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
I could eat. I've got the time. I'm helping, though, because you're not as good of a cook as you think you are, so I'm helping.
Oh, cooking was never my specialty. It was always the cider. And he has some of his apple cider in the house that he makes for, like, special occasions and shit. This one is a little spiked, though. I only get this out for the special occasions.
Well, anytime I come visit you, I would consider a special occasion.
Yeah.
You're here.
For now.
I think at that point, it would just turn to Christmas and Foostrak, sort of just going inside, cooking together, drinking together, kind of swapping stories about, you know, the good old times. This isn't anything new. This has happened probably time and time again. And when they're done, when Foostrak has drunk Christmas under the table, he would just say goodbye like normal.
Well, would he say something like, you know, I'll see you later, or...
Yeah, probably.
Foostrak would end up saying, no, I think that this is probably it. And then, on Turin 5th,
We have a date.
of 43 E2AC, at 124 years old, Foostrak uses the conduit of glass.
Mm-hmm. You're going to make me participate in this. All right.
Not necessarily, not unless you want to.
I can.
Okay.
Just hit me in a lot of feels that I was not prepared for.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The day you use the conduit of glass, I imagine, is a day that is very normal. Like, Nora, the way she keeps herself kind of busy and youthful is a lot of time spent in, like, gardens and orchards. And being that you guys live in Lochmanos, there's, like, plenty of hiking to do in the Minas Mountains and whatnot. And she's still pretty fit, and she still plies her trade when she can. But on that particular day, as you activate the conduit of glass, it doesn't quite happen the same way you remember, if you'll allow me a little creative license with this.
Yeah.
Instead, you see the conduit light up in your hands, but you don't feel that, like, fall into the fog. Instead, someone else you know walks in. You see a man who looks like he has been in his 40s for 100 years. In
Christmas.
Yeah.
No.
One of the many simulacrum Christmases that have died at this point.
You hear the sort of dull thud of a fake leg and a cane. And the door opens and you see Tristan Kepler in a suit of bronze plate. And you see a chickadee sitting on his shoulder. This is not the first time you've seen Tristan since you parted ways way back when. And you've heard some interesting things about what Tristan's been up to, helping Sala, mostly. And he steps in, and you see he also has like a dead eye, and he looks across at you. He's like, "Well, Mr. Wildborn, it has been a long, long time."
Yeah, it has. You look about as good as me right now.
Well, I would hope I look better. I'm not the one about to kick the bucket, if you don't mind me saying.
Oh man, already, huh? Well, at least, I saw Chris about 2 years ago, and I told him that I thought I had about another 5, so I'm kind of glad I was wrong a little bit. When you get old, 5 years seems like an eternity and a blink at the same time.
It turns out Christmas has visited like an additional 10 times since then. Even though
It's like, are you dead yet? Are you dead yet?
You said it would be the last time.
But no, you see Tristan leaning on this pretty simple cane, and you know that Tristan Kepler is no longer Tristan Kepler. With your connections to people in the Feywild, you know a few things that have changed, things that are like public knowledge. And one of them is that Tristan is an archfey.
Oh.
After his almost 100 years of service to Morrigan, he decided to make it permanent. And not terribly long ago, let me grab my notes here.
This is a surprise to even me.
I know it is. I am not telling you very much, but I've got more. Where is he? Okay. Tristan is a member of the Court of Reckoning. You already knew this. But he's a minor archfey. And he has earned a nickname that you don't quite know how he got or why. But he's referred to as the Fey Reaper now. And it's just kind of what people call him in the Feywild, but it's not a fearful name. It's not like the Quarry Butcher. And some people will call him like the Bronze Knight, or there's all kinds of little nicknames that Archfey get over time. But one thing that you have noticed about him is that as he steps into your room, in his wake, these little orange and red and yellow flowers pop up between the wood slats of the floor. And he looks at you for a minute, leaning on his cane, and he says, before you go, I just wanted to bring, I wanted to bring you a little gift that's kind of from me and from Morrigan. And I didn't really get the chance to say it to Miss Wrenly or Mr. Borago. So I wanted to say thank you.
I mean, I did try to kill you once.
You
I don't
did.
know how much you should be trying to thank me.
You did try, but the next chance you got, you let me go. And in the last century, I ain't made up for shit that I've done. I will always be the butcher. That ain't washing off. But in this past century, I have become somebody that I can live with, and somebody that I am frankly proud to be. Because I decided to choose service instead of anger and fear. And I'm best friends with my ex-wife. And I've got my dog, and I've got a purpose, and it's great. So thank you.
You know, it ain't about trying to make up for the things you did. It's just about trying to be better than the person that you were then.
Yeah.
And you've done a pretty good job of that.
I try. But, if you got one last little walk in you, I gotta give for you.
Yeah, I suppose I can do that. And he starts getting up.
Yeah, and he steps over and he like helps you up, and he's way stronger than he looks. But he gets the need for the cane and everything because he has purposely never fixed his leg. And he helps you get outside, and he goes your speed. And as you step outside, years ago, almost a century ago, you planted the Erden bloom on your property.
Mm-hmm.
And the Erden bloom, the gift from Morrigan, grew and grew and grew until the sunflower was the size of a small oak tree. And over time, the seeds every year, because the sunflower would just never go away, it just produced more seeds every year. The seeds from the sunflower spread further and further until you have a field of sunflowers. But as you step out this time, the Erden bloom is taller, like a lot taller. It is the size of a small sequoia at this point. And the field of sunflowers has spread further than you can see, to the point that it must go into the edge of the forest. And he says, Morgan and I were talking about what would be a fitting gift, because material possessions don't really work for legacies and things like that. And thing I came up with a little advice from Ross maybe, was making sure that this place lasts. This field, this homestead, these things that you built. And he turns your attention toward the wooden statue of Weofen, which you see is completely healed of all its weathering, back to full detail. Says, I'm going to look after that for you. People deserve to know who she was.
Well, just so you know, there's another one out in the wood shop.
Ain't finished yet?
No, he's done. But it wasn't time for him to go up yet.
Who is it?
Well, I suppose now it is time for it to go up. I did one of me, too. It's got a spot in it for an urn. Same deal as her.
Alright.
But champions of Zerai and Elen, it might end up getting moved a haven, potentially, but you'll have to talk to the Vera about that. She's going to be handling some stuff here.
I'll make sure everything works out okay. I shouldn't keep you too long, I imagine. I'm already kind of stepping on your lady's toes. But, thank you. Really.
You were a good man to work with.
I tried to be better.
You were a good peer. You always came in when we needed help. And you've helped a lot more people than what you hurt before.
I don't know if I'm quite to that number yet, but we'll see. I'll get there.
Yeah, you will.
Well, you ready to go?
Yeah, I think I am.
All right. And he reaches out and he puts a hand on your shoulder, and you start to feel that familiar feeling of the slow, like, fall back into the mist. And, what?
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 No. She
Okay.
gone.
Okay.
Okay. Good thought though.
Young girl.
But
Penix.
yeah. You feel yourself falling
Damn
back
it.
through, I know, right? Back through the fog, and then you feel suddenly all of the like aches and pains and the things that don't quite move right, and all of that just melts away, and you feel like your back straighten out, your shoulders roll back, and you feel this nearly burn, but it's comforting as the phoenix tattoo on your chest blazes and the light extends through all your tattoos. And when your eyes open again, you're looking down at yourself, all of your fur, that beautiful, like, golden brown again, and all of the muscle back, and all the tattoos and markings clearly visible again. And you are standing on a marble plinth in the middle of a glass-clear lake with a little tea table. And just beyond, you see that the hall of Volker has already risen, but this time there are two people waiting for you. One of them is a more petite lady with long, almost white blonde hair in a white robe, looking the same as you have always remembered. And beside her is a Taiylor loves the big buff ladies, the tall, super, like, muscly, covered in scars and tattoos, dark skin, side-shaved, long black hair, Zarai with her arms crossed, standing there beside her wife. And you can feel that there's still somebody's hand on your shoulder, and you realize it's Ellen's. And she looks up at you, and she smiles. She says, "Long time no see."
I mean, it's only been like a few months. I used it like clockwork for the most part.
It's been a while. Longer than usual.
Yeah. Time gets away from you when you're old sometimes.
Welcome home. Or, well, we'll see about that.
And, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Let my family know.
I believe your friend, Mr. Kepler, is taking care of that, but I'll check in.
Thanks.
Yeah. And Zarai, who I believe you've only met once.
I have not met Zarai.
Oh, you haven't? Shit, okay.
So I imagine that they have met by this point, because probably once he used the conduit after Weafin passed, Zarai might pop up.
I don't think so. I'm going to say this is the first time you've ever seen her in person.
I probably met Ryzen by this point, because he would be in Volker.
Yep, he's asleep most of the time. But yeah, Zarai steps up to you, and she, like, you have long since learned that these entities can be as tall or as small as they want to be. Zarai is huge on purpose. And she comes up and she gives you like this big clap on the shoulder that if you were still 100+ years old would make you crumble. But for the first time in probably 40 years, it's just like solid. And
probably longer than 40.
Probably, yeah. But she looks at you with these like golden brown verging on amber eyes that are like really intense, and you see all these small scars all over her face. She says, "I hope you'll forgive me for being late to greet you. but I had a feeling I should be here today.
I appreciate it. I always heard a lot about you.
Well, I should hope so.
So, but, the temple and Waven.
I came because I wanted to... first of all, I wanted to meet you, but also I wanted to be here to show you around Volker and Ursvalar and help you find where you need to be. I promised her that I would.
I think I know already where I need to be. As much as I would love to be able to rest, I think I still have a bit of a duty. I would like to be able to come here and visit from time to time, but
of course.
I would like to help protect Atlaran.
Well, we do it in a different way here, but we can do that. And you should know that you can change your mind anytime. If you need 10 years to rest, you take it. You can always come back.
We'll see. We'll find out what,
Yeah.
We'll find out if I need that at some point.
All right, then. Well, since you don't have your hammer anymore, she holds up her hand and clenches her fist, and in her grip appears Waefin's hammer. And she offers it out to you. This gigantic stone maul that has a lot of similar markings on it to Drahar Gloin, but it is so Waefin, just in its style. It's rough around the edges, it's hefty, it probably weighs more than your maul did. Like, it's all her.
He'll look at Ellen for just a moment to make sure that this is okay, which he knows it is, but still.
Yeah, no, when you look at her, there's just a pleasant smile of enjoying her friend, because you guys have become friends over a long time, good friends. She's enjoying her wife being excited about her friend, basically.
And he'll take the hammer. And he'll kind of give like a little salute to Zerai with it. But then he's going to turn to Ellen and he's going to give her a hug. And thank her for the blessing that he carried through almost his entire life. Yeah. And he'll go off to defend the Demiweir.
As we sort of zoom out of Foostrak's new beginning, I guess, the way Ursvalar and Volker have always worked is they are two sides of the same coin. One is for those that still have fire to fight, and the other is for those that need to rest. And people pass between the two as needed. Any beloved person, any chosen of one goddess is also beloved of the other. And so the Glass Lakes and the halls of these amazing warriors are always open to you. And the role of Zerai's hall and her people, this very Valhalla-esque afterlife, is to protect the material plane from things that those in the material plane cannot see. Their realm is the ethereal, the dead, the things outside the demiweird trying to get in, the Shadowfell, that sort of thing. And so there is room for Foostrak to join the line, which is sort of to you, it would be like going back to some of the ways of the Nathar, but the way it should have been, where everybody is everybody's ally, and people heal each other and watch each other's backs. And eventually, Vera joins you there, years and years later. And some of her children join you there. And so on and so forth, and pass between the two places as they like. But I do want to get into a couple special NPCs stuff. What?
I just want to add one thing as a little addition to each of the disappearances / deaths of the other nobodies. We haven't really talked a lot about what Christmas's domain in the Feywild looks like, but it's called the Garden because of course it is. And there's a lot of stained glass being used for things stained glass isn't typically used for, and a lot of crazy flowers that don't exist in other places. But anyway, it's sort of a perpetual springtime summer there. But after Noah disappeared and Christmas found out about it, it was sort of a gradual thing that happened, because Christmas sort of had to come to the realization over time that Noah wasn't coming back. And due to the way things progress in Atlaran compared to the Feywild, in the Feywild that happened pretty quickly, and Atlaran it did not. In the years following Noah's disappearance is the first time Christmas's domain experienced autumn. After Magda died, roses didn't bloom in the garden for 5 years. After Foostrak died, it rained in the garden for a decade. And it wasn't too long after Foostrak died that Reginald Bannenkret had already sort of moved on, passed on. The Bannenkret line had ended, so to speak. But in the years following Foostrak's death, Christmas disappeared too.
I will say Christmas would have gotten a letter that Foostrak had prepared.
It wouldn't be this campaign if we didn't have one more letter from Foostrak.
I know. Literally, I was like, I'm just going to do this one last time. It's dated 4 years before he dies. But he wrote it ahead of time. I'm just going to cliff notes it. But just saying, hey, if you're reading this, I'm dead.
Christmas is like, no shit, I know that already.
He does say that he has asked that Drahar Gloin be sent to Christmas. To find out, it was a gift from Morgan. It should be Morgan's decision who it goes to next. Blah, 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 plan to be cremated, ashes divided. The statue of the Nobodies is going to be moved off of Wildborn Farms, which has now been renamed Stalwart Farm and Ranch for Abandoned Cret and Wildborn because it removes our names. And this place is supposed to remain incognito, which Foostrak spells in-cog-nito because he doesn't know how to spell that word.
Christmas is reading this letter, by the way, and he's like, he was so totally planning on dying, like, the next day. It's been 4 years. We've talked about all of this in person already.
He also goes on to remind Christmas that Christmas is a good man, and that he thinks Christmas forgets that sometimes. And that while he's going to have a long life, and he's going to be haunted by mistakes and regrets, he needs to remember the people we've saved that make the long life worth it. And he has asked Christmas that once a year he spend a week with mortals, just to remind himself of why they're worth it. That for all the evil that mortals can do, they have a greater capacity to do good, just as we did. And that we are all a part of what makes Atlaran beautiful and worth saving. He also lets him know his plan to go to Ursvalar instead of Volker, and lets him know that if he sees something big coming, he will try and warn him if he is able to. And then ends with giving a hug to Sala and Maeve, so that Christmas gets one too. And that's it.
The end.
Yep.
The end of Mr. Wildborn.
Finally.
Yep.
Been like 6 weeks of fucking torture on
I
my
know.
end thinking about all this.
But yeah,
Oh, congratulations, you got me, by the way. I didn't quite shed a tear, but I was close.
I saw you a couple times. Like, I started to be like, nope, I'm not ready for this.
Yep.
This sad old man shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I did want to get into some NPCs, especially some kids, because the kids are going to be
So
fun.
many kids.
There's so many. Where's my... There it is. I found a notebook that actually says Wanderlust.
Aw, cute.
Nice.
Now you have to
It's
find one
actually
that says
not
Valerian.
that many kids now that I think about it. Foostrak has 3 and Christmas has 1.
Well, I
That's
mean,
it.
there's other...
Well,
Well,
then Christine got a second one. And who
I
knows
got a
how many
second
We
one.
more
don't
they
care about
adopted.
them.
Yeah.
Noah left. We don't care about the Boragos
No, we
anymore.
do care about them because they lead into some fun shit.
Chris and Chip's got a replacement baby.
Oh
No,
my
they got
God.
her
Yeah.
before Noah.
Yeah.
That's actually what happened to Noah. The letter wasn't written by Noah. It was written by Christine. They exchanged their child for a new
Yep.
one.
They went to the baby store and they were like, hey, this one grew up and is kind of blowing things up.
This one's broken.
Yeah.
They said bye-bye, baby, to Noah, and hello, baby, to the new one.
Did they get a
Anyway.
receipt when they got Noah the
Guys,
first?
stop it. No, he was the child of a slave. No. So here
No
we go.
returns.
No returns, no refunds. So after
No
his
regrets.
passing, Foostrak earned many nicknames in his life. A lot of the nobodies did. I mean, you all have at least 2. Some of you have 5. But one of the ones that sticks with Foostrak is the Hammer of the Pale Moon. It is sort of what he's called in Lochmanos. And your farm ranch isn't that close to the nearest city, but it does become a thing, like, maybe not in Vera's time, but after it, that sometimes people will go out to the old Wildborn ranch to see the statues and the Erden bloom in these fields of endless sunflowers. And being that Foostrak was a Phoenix Knight and chosen, and had all these fun nicknames. A lot of not true stories appear about Foostrak over time that just get crazier and crazier, but the general gist of it is there once was a very strong Minotaur man with a little lizard buddy who did some good stuff once. Yeah. That's kind of the local legacy, but in the Feywild, the Phoenix Knight thing goes a little further, especially after the Barrel Planeway. But I do want to get into Chris and Chips, actually, because I feel like, not necessarily them, but Delphine. A couple... actually, probably not even a year after Sternafall, Chris and Chips adopt a moon elf from Caladros after a lot of horrible shit happens because of the Hesperian Empire that orphans a lot of children, mostly moon elves. But Delphine Borago is brought home pretty much an infant, and she grows up kind of the same way Noah did. She's crazy. She explodes everything. She loves to play with chemicals, especially caustic ones. And
so what you're telling me is that it's Chris and Chip's fault that I ended up the way I did.
Yes. I mean, yes.
Should have just kept Noah. The exchange was a mistake.
Yeah.
There is no nature in this family. It is all nurture.
Yep. But there is a little bit of nature to Delphine in that she's a little more conscious of when things are going to blow up in her face, which is why she lives so long. Not nearly as long as like an old moon elf, but she does manage to make it to like her 350s. And she has a sort of, I don't want to call it a merciless business sense, but she has a very strong grasp on what to do for the family business. And the first thing she does when she takes over in her 20s is change the fucking name. Because it's too long. She changes it to Borago Bazaar.
Okay.
And she also eventually, once Noah when Noah disappeared, she was next in line to get the airship business, AAA, as well. That one she keeps.
About that.
One she keeps because AAA is super easy and memorable.
It's really good, like, branding. Everybody's heard about it. Everybody calls them when they need to get, a rental.
Yeah. Let's see here.
If your airship falls out of the sky, they'll come tow you back out.
So this is
commercials. This is like AAA. We'll pick you up.
This is unrelated to the campaign, but I feel the need to share this in our very casual session today, in which all of us have almost cried.
Some of us more than almost.
I have just read on the internet that Bella Ramsey, Ellie from The Last of Us HBO series, which is phenomenal, by the way. Bella Ramsey has been cast as the lead in Chicken Run 2, set 23 years after the events of the first movie. And
they're making a Chicken Run 2.
Very excited for Bella Ramsey. I am more excited that they're making a Chicken Run 2 because that movie was amazing. Anyway,
it was pretty funny.
Back to children.
Yes. So Delphine Borago dies in 301 aboard her own personal airship. It is not her fault. It's actually a sabotage. Her personal airship goes up in flames and explodes due to a sabotage by a rival Arrow shipwright called, I believe it was called Jag. And because the Boragos are really well liked in her lifetime, that entire company gets destroyed. And the Borago Bazaar and AAA are passed down to her son, Julian Gray Borago, who is a half-elf. Julian is the one who finally cracks Noah's dream of the monolith engine. He is the one who brings magical airships back, except he is also very business savvy, and he guards his secret like the fucking KFC recipe. Like, no one can figure out how he did it, and the only way you can get a hold of a monolith engine is by having a Borago, an actual Borago, not their engineers, an actual Borago like Julian, build it for you and install it so that you can't open it up and figure out how it works.
Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. But yeah, he discovers that about 21 years after his mother dies, and then promptly crashes his proof of concept magically powered skiff into the side of a mountain less than 3 months later, but miraculously survives. And when asked
My God.
how that whole experience was,
This
he
is
says,
Jessa-san all over again.
it really is though. He claims it is in the Borago spirit to have such explosive results. Yeah. So that's kind of what happens with the Boragos. After Julian, like, the business continues in the Borago family, but being that it becomes equal parts like adoptees and bloodline, the business kind of continues with the bloodline, whereas cousins and like younger siblings split off to do their own things. And a lot of them end up running branches of Borago Bazaar in the sort of image of Lysander Courage, where they try to Lysander Courage and Sandrake Sundries. Where eventually the Boragos buy out Sandrake Sundries and Strangeness, and they have locations in every major city. It's like, it becomes Walmart, essentially.
Yes.
So, congratulations, man. Capitalism won.
I love that I continue to just like make people who have ridiculous amounts of capitalism going on.
But then we can get into Ulgar doesn't really have an epilogue because none of you ever see him again. But he does get a nickname that some of you might recognize. He is starting to be called the Fifth Horseman.
Well, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
No.
But nobody sees him again. He doesn't ever make contact with any of you again after the 5-year celebration. He doesn't attack the Demiweir. He doesn't bring you another soul. He's just gone.
Well, I guess that blows apart my theory that Noah's boyfriend was Ulgar Heidelin.
That would be hilarious.
Right.
My God.
But I do want to get into Jasper, whom I'm very proud of. Jasper, after Sternafall, other than, of course, helping out with the Peacemakers as Ross's balance, he continues on as the chieftain of the Blue Shore, and in his time, over the course of, I think it's almost 90 years, he helps to build something that will eventually cause the borders of a country to be laid down. 2 countries, in fact. Before they disappear, some of the Master Arcanists got together under Alistair Altera's guidance and created something, created a rune shield around the Runetown Ring, a way to keep otherworldly things out and try to keep this little place protected just a little bit. Like, it doesn't stop everything from getting in, but it at least protects the borders, and things like the GWC rebel occupation don't happen again, he hopes. And in the course of his life, after Alistair, Droval, and Jack disappear, after Murdoch Kilkelly is executed for his involvement in the rebellion, after several other Master Arcanists step down or are replaced while they retire, Jasper builds a physical wall. He creates a basically Great Wall of China for the Rune Ring. And the Rune Ring in this time becomes its own country. It becomes the Commonwealth of Ascalon, made up of 9 states. And in the center of the Commonwealth, there is, of course, Aiwass, which serves as the grand sort of capital for the entire country. And I should also mention that before they completely disappear, our elder druids, Kenna and Kit, do eventually eradicate the Almatum, cursed Almatum in Rolliger and Vern. And while the Aiwass tree is heavily damaged, it is able to be saved. But it takes Jasper most of his life to complete this wall. And at the same time, he is the sort of face of his people and kind of becomes the voice of a few other peoples, native peoples in Frosthold, including the Frost Giants, who have never been granted any kind of personhood or mercy in the Lindvale Peninsula outside the Rune Ring. Jasper founds the country, the Republic of Blaustrand, and he never names himself a king or a president or any of that. He just calls himself High Chieftain, because he thinks the title needs to stay fairly humble. And after the wall is completed, after the country is set and his people have their own sovereign nation, his granddaughter Jade takes over for him. And he passes away before 30 E2 AC. But he also, not necessarily in his lifetime, but shortly after, Blaustrand is kind of Norway, in that Jasper set down a lot of really good examples for people in his country, and one of them becomes known as the Brothier criminal justice system, in which rehabilitation and education is the key. And not everyone takes it on, but some countries, like the Commonwealth of Ascalon, do take on that approach to criminals. What else? And the future leaders of his country are not his descendants all the time. It becomes sort of a merit position. And Jade installs something called the Brothier Code, which is a code of ethics and honor, by which if a leader breaks any of the rules, they forfeit their leadership. Obviously, this doesn't always work because people can be corrupted, but it serves Blaustrand very well for a very long time, to the point that in C3, when we get there, Blaustrand is still a whole country. The Commonwealth of Ascalon is still a whole country, and they manage to not be terrible, which is kind of all you can ask for. But I did want to also bring up for Koop most of all, but also a little bit for Ash because it involves Lorcan. Veranestra. She abandons the Seelie Court. She eventually walks out and leaves her parents behind, and she does not join another court, which is kind of unheard of for an archfey of her position. Instead, she founds her own very tiny court, friendly to the Reckoning and anybody that the Reckoning is sort of on good terms with. And it is named simply the Court of Flowers. She does not name herself a monarch, only the Lady of Lilies. Her symbol becomes the Lycoris, or the red spider lily. Her personal color palette shifts from the sort of pastel greens and yellows and blues into reds and blacks and dark greens, like a red spider lily. And the title she gets, the Voice of the Lilies, pertains to her being a champion of the abused, the abandoned, and the neglected. She doesn't often involve herself in other courts after this. She doesn't mess with the Seelie court at all unless she needs to like help slow their roll. But she does offer support to the Reckoning, and they just sort of try to stay peaceful. Her fellow courtiers come to include many people of her domains, such as nymphs, dryads, fairies, and eventually Lorcan Sheolok. Veranestra's nope, that's it. Yep, Voice of the Lilies. Lorcan has a couple ups and downs in his story. He eventually actually goes back to the Feywild. Sort of on a 10-15 year journey to kind of work out his trauma and reconnect with his family. And while he's there, this is around the time the Barrel Planeway is opened. And one of the first things he notices is a massive influx of changelings and similar people coming into the Feywild, escaping Atlaran. And he goes to Veranestra, who at this time has established her reputation as someone who takes in those who are abandoned by others. And he starts helping her. And eventually, he earns a full archfeyhood. He goes from minor to major, and he earns the title of the Lord of Masks, patron of changelings and shapeshifters, replacing Hearsome, and a beloved hero of basically any shapeshifter and any like person transitioning, any of that. He earns the title not from a court. He doesn't earn it from the Feywild. It is given to him by the people he helps. Despite not really wanting to fight anymore, he feels it's his purpose to fight for those who can't, just like his family, you guys, did for him. He's also a major force in Ile de Argent at one point, where he goes to rescue groups of people. And he becomes a little bit of a patron of moon elves, too. He joins the Court of Flowers, eventually at Veranestra's side. And because of his work and Veranestra's and those they work with, the Court of Flowers is eventually, I say eventually a lot, it is nicknamed the Court of Voices.
I would like to insight check the Court of Flowers.
Why?
Because I know what spider lilies symbolize.
What do they symbolize?
Death.
I know what they symbolize. I mean, yeah. A lot of flowers, especially lilies of all different kinds, symbolize death, but spider lilies, red spider lilies specifically, are also symbolic of reincarnation.
Okay.
They are.
I believe you.
You die and you become something else.
I believe you.
Like a fucking butterfly. I did want to touch on Leon Veneer and Marceline Nyland because I know there was a weird reaction to them actually ending up together. Marceline is revived with Leon's approval, and she's given a chance to atone by working with the crows. Against everyone's expectations, she and Leon eventually get back together many years later and marry. They have 3
Don't group
kids.
me into everyone. Don't group me into everyone.
Whatever,
Christmas was rooting for them from day one.
They have 3 kids who carry on the Veneer name: Tara, Cyril, and Irian. Nathan, Koop, you'll like this one. Nathan Kepler, Tristan's little brother, becomes Lieutenant Nathan Kepler, a detective in the Wardens. After his return, reunion, and reconciliation with his brother, Nathan goes on to become a detective for the White Wardens Guild, where he puts his acting, subterfuge, and other roguish skills to good use. And eventually he retires to parts unknown, and only Tristan and their inner circle know where he went and when he dies. Walter, aka Prince Gabriel Moore the First, Goes on to Moore's Rest and meets his mother. I mentioned this last time. And he reunites with his old family, and he is offered his mantle as prince. But he decides to hold off until he can get Amelia back and they can talk. And he does get her back, and I mentioned last time how they return to Constantis and she fucks up her dad and basically hands the whole estate to her sister and says, "Peace, bitches, I'm out." They go back to Moore's Rest and take on the future king and queenhood. And they end up also having 3 kids, Gabriel II, Barrett, and Estelle. And eventually, Moore's Rest becomes Moorhold, an island kingdom that stretches from around Wick upon Pine down to Cradleport. So pretty much the entire eastern edge of Harris. That will be its form in C3. I already mentioned that some of the Master Arcanists disappear, and Murdoch Kilkelly is executed for several things. Tristan, I've already mentioned some of his story, but I'll give a little more that I don't think will mess with anything in the future. He is named a Knight of Loch Cara and earns the name the Fey Reaper because he helps find and gather and put to rest lost souls, which is part of Sala's domain as an Archfey. And they do actually, in the course of centuries, become best friends and work together all the time. And he finds his place within the Court of Reckoning. Legend holds, because Tristan appears less and less over time, or at least people don't see him as often. Legend holds that if you see a man in bronze with a chickadee on his shoulder, you have seen the Fey Reaper. And if you see a flower called the Cara Buttercup, with fiery oranges and reds and tints of yellows with blue at the center, the Fey Reaper has been there. The bearers of the Obsidian Collective are next on my list. Long story short, all bearers eventually step down, except for Hana Yukagara. Armin Messer continues his work as High Graver at Pyrevale Temple. Arabelle Molinarch stays the captain of the Chasers until she just fucking disappears into the Feywild and never tells anybody. She does it on purpose. She literally says, "Fuck you all, I'm going away." So, Lee remains High Elder of Hesperus to the end of her days, and she's eventually succeeded by someone chosen by the Sentinels. Roan Mornael marries Indira Sokolov, and they have their own kids who go on to help eradicate slavery in Lochmanos alongside the Kolegaigo clan. Kit goes on doing what Kit does, whatever Kit wants, and whatever he deems good for the natural world, until, of course, they disappear. Kenna, same thing. Easy. And Vesper never did choose another bearer. I think that was already obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lykari... so a lot of this stuff with the Lykari is kind of short-lived. They disappear quickly after Stirna Fall. In 504, so only 2 years after you guys fought Sav, Flameheart leads the Lykari to basically nobody knows where. They are hidden from most of the world for the rest of these 500 years between campaigns. The only people that see them in this interim are Noah Borago, until he disappears, Christmas Fortunemær, who keeps up a friendship with them all through this time, and a couple of them do visit Magda and Foostrak within the remainder of their lifetimes. What else here? I want to make sure I'm hitting all the ones that were on the list. Rhea Macambaro is eventually replaced by Aelin Macambaro, Kenna's great-granddaughter. It's just staying in the Macambaro family at this point. Nobody ever picks anybody else. Now that I've gone through all of these, I have the timeline in front of me, which has some stuff that doesn't really pertain to you guys or your past or future characters. Some of this is just for my reference, so I have lore. But what do you guys want to know?
Did you want to add the stuff about the monolith engine, or is that coming up?
Which bit? What am I missing about?
The part that you just told me about.
Oh, hold on one sec.
I don't know if that messes up C3 or not.
Well, no. So this bit has been kind of planned for a while. It was just a question of when does it occur, which falls about 120 years before C3. Julian Gray Borago, being the one that rediscovered the monolith engines, he goes on to expand his side, or his sort of passion side of the business. But what else did you want me to get at with that?
Let me.
If you're talking about the big floaty thing, no, I'm not telling anybody that.
Okay, the part that I just sent to you?
Yeah, I'm not telling anybody that. I'm not telling them about the big floaty thing.
Okay, cool. Then
That's a secret.
I will just add one tiny thing then.
Mhm.
Probably something Christmas will notice more than anyone else is that does he ever come back to visit the graves of Foostrak and Magda at all?
Christmas?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I would say once in a while, not very often, like maybe 10, 20 years apart at a time, when you show up, you will notice that there's a small bundle of Aurora Nightingale feathers on Magda's grave. And there would also be probably a bundle of certain types of plants that you'd seen used in growth potions on Foostrak's grave.
Interesting.
That is all I'm going to add.
Noah's disappearance haunts Christmas forever. Like, literally forever. Because he was gone, like, when it happened, so when he shows back up and Noah's, like, already gone, and is like, oh, I'll see you guys, you know, I can't wait to see you guys again soon. And then everyone starts, like, dying around him, and Noah hasn't come back yet. Like, that's just, oh my god, it keeps Christmas up at night.
Yeah, and you,
Perfect.
at least as far as your knowledge, Koop, you never find anything except those things on the graves.
Which probably is, like, equally like relieving to know that, like, Noah's probably still out there, but also just infuriating that, like, one of the most powerful spellcasters in all of Atlaran with the powers of an archfey cannot find his fucking friend. Like, it is just, it drives him insane.
Yep. We're just gonna let that mystery ride till like C3.
Yeah.
It's so juicy, you guys. It is beautiful.
God, is it? Oh God. But yeah, is there anybody else you guys want to know about? I do have a list of potential topics, but you guys don't have to hear about every single one.
Christmas true polymorphs a barrel into Noah Borago.
Oh,
that's terrible.
Just kidding. He doesn't do that.
Disturbing.
He's not that desperate.
You'd be better off true polymorphing one into Magda and Foostrak.
Yeah. No. When he probably uses true polymorph pretty liberally and definitely dances around some moral implications of, like, turning objects into living, breathing people, but never, ever, ever does it to recreate people who are dead. Ever. The thought did cross his mind. What if I just turned a barrel into Weofin?
That's
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so.
How would it have all of her memories?
True.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Look, true morality isn't just never thinking about those things and
It's
letting
just
them
not
cross your
doing
mind.
them.
It's them crossing your mind and then choosing to say no.
Okay. So let's jump on break. And then we can come back and either discuss any like topics you guys have, like any questions you want to know about the end of C2. And if we don't have very many, I'm gonna set you a fucking pretty picture of the start of C3. And then we're gonna have to wait for months to start. That'll be fun.
Lovely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be back. Let's give ourselves a 15-minute break. And we'll be back at 1:11.
We'll see you
One,
soon.
Hello.
That's enough talk about robotic chickens, guys. Jesus.
That's
That
what you were
would-
doing, was the robot chicken
Yeah.
theme.
Yeah.
I was trying, I could hear it, but I couldn't fucking place where it was from.
Yeah, it's kind of old now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, goddamn, was that a good show?
It was so unacceptable by today's standards.
It
Yeah.
was, but goddamn, was it funny?
Deeply
Like there was
unacceptable.
a show on Nickelodeon called Kablam that I loved. That was
Uh-huh.
exactly the same thing, but for
Yeah.
kids.
Mhm.
And so, like, when Robot Chicken started going around, and, like, even at the time, it was like, ooh, some of this is bad, but, like, goddamn, did that entertain me to no end. But anyway, what would you like to hear about? What is your favorite color?
Blue, no, red. Ah.
Woo! Anybody at all?
I definitely have stuff that I have like starred in the NPC epilogues, and like stuff like that. But I mean, if anybody wants to, like, I don't want to bogart the whole thing.
Well, nobody else is offering anything yet, so
That's true. I
I want
want
to hear
to know.
the timeline.
I want to know what piece of shit Callum Wright ended up having
Oh.
happen to him.
you might be mad
Yeah.
at me.
I'm hoping that he like fell into a
Did
chasm
he end
and
up
broke
having
both
like a
legs
happy
and died.
life or something? Fuck that guy.
Happy.
Sometimes bad people have good lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just kind of have okay lives. And
Why
then
do
they
good
die.
things happen to bad people?
Because they got the money to buy it.
Well, Callum's not rich yet, but
No.
anyway, let me grab my thing here. So, Callum Wright. I'm pretty sure the last time any of you see him is when Noah, as Kenna, scares the shit out of him. If any of you, it doesn't matter what your characters do. I'm just going to tell you guys at this point, you're players, not player characters. Callum goes on to achieve his goal of becoming a Hesperian battle mage. I think I mentioned some of this to some of you at one point. I've changed it up a little bit. He does go on to become a Hesperian battle mage, but he does not join the like main ranks of the Hesperian Empire. He continues being kind of a bodyguard, and he like escorts researchers and archaeologists and anthropologists on their projects. He kind of stays out of like all the war and destruction, and instead finds his way supporting like sciences and explorers and that kind of thing. Like he makes expeditions out into Garel Shell to help map parts of it that are clear.
He's a colonist.
Yeah. What do you think the Hesperians are?
No, I know.
Nazis.
But yeah, well, I mean, one of their biggest things is or one of their biggest fictional things, though not entirely fiction, was Indiana Jones stuff. So, but one of his biggest things that he not necessarily achieves, but does in his life is he is part of a 10-year excavation into an underground city in the Hesperian Empire, which about 20 years after you guys sent him off, he's still working in this excavation, kind of just doing his thing. He's got a wife, he's got a kid, and unfortunately, war does not care about history and science. Especially not when you're the Hesperian Empire and you've pissed everybody off. Especially the Liga der Kaiser Frei, who only very recently had Kriegheim liberated. So, Lan Osri, which is a coastal city in the Hesperian Empire, is the closest one to Novenbrecht, the capital of Kriegheim. And shortly after you guys liberate Kriegheim, the daughter of the traitorous admiral who caused Kriegheim to be taken over, she takes the fleet back. Because Novenbrecht and Kriegheim are known for their navy. She takes it out and around to Lan Osri and shells the place. And in the course of her shelling, Callum Wright and a lot of the people he worked with, none of them soldiers, none of them necessarily direct contributors to the horrible shit going on, are killed in cave-ins. And Callum tries to save people because he works for them, but when he goes back to try to get somebody out, he's crushed.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Shame about all the innocent people, though.
Right. But his wife and his kid are denied any payout for his death because it was caused by war. And that is not a thing the Hesperian Empire Insurance Company covers.
Nope, insurance doesn't cover war.
So his wife...
I hate that we all know that.
Yeah, right? His wife goes on to actually leave the Hesperian Empire, and she goes to harass into the kingdom of... or the future kingdom of Moorhold. And that is where that is kind of where their story ends. Callum wasn't in his kid's life enough to ruin them, basically, or even have a chance to do something right. So he kind of ends in a whisper.
That's sort of tragic, I'm not gonna lie.
Right?
I kind of wanted him to redeem himself, maybe.
I mean, he wasn't awful. Noah kind of scared him straight. Like, he didn't actively go out ruining lives anymore. The next time he committed to somebody, he stayed committed. He had a kid that he loved, but could never be around. But war in the Hesperian Empire.
Sounds like a personal problem, honestly.
Yeah, he doesn't get an Alistair Altera ending. That was Tristan. Tristan gets that one. But yeah, it just kind of ends in a whisper, unfortunately. And it is sad, but it also sets up the perfect precedent for a lot of shit in C3 and the wars in Caladros, because that's just what happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Callum is not the first, and he will be far from the last.
I have a little bit of a question, just to follow up from us talking about that.
Yeah.
So you said that, what's his nuts? Somebody, Borago, who did the Monolith engine. Julian. I kept wanting to say a different name. I couldn't think of what it was.
His name's Julian Gray.
Isn't that the name of the guy in 50 Shades?
No,
it's Christian.
It's Christian Grey.
Isn't Julian Gray the dude? The
That's Dorian Gray.
Dorian Gray. Okay, never mind.
No, his name is Julian Gray Borago. His mom
just
was
keep
Delphine.
going through all the grays.
His mom was Delphine Borago, and his dad was Roy Gray, I believe, who is a human.
Good old Roy. Is he still alive by the time C3 starts?
That's in. So he discovers
Despite
the
his best
engine in
efforts, maybe.
322. He's pretty young, at least by like half Elven standards. I think he's like in his late 30s when he cracks the monolith engine. So
Okay.
that's in 322. Half elves typically live 120-ish years. I don't think he would be alive by then because that's like past the end of his lifespan.
Okay.
But he would probably have some grandkids kicking around.
Did he? I'm curious. Did he passed on his knowledge then?
Yes. The entire thing about the magical engines is a Borago family secret only.
Okay. I wasn't sure if maybe he like created a whole bunch of them and then just took the secrets to his grave and
Nope.
like, yeah. Okay. I still love that he figured out what Jessa-san spent her entire life trying to crack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Delphine spent her entire life trying to crack it too. There's like a combination of, if you count all the other people who have worked on it, there's a combination of like 900 years of trying to get this secret back.
Yeah.
No, wait, more, because it's only 900 years since the Calamity when we hit C3. The secret was lost like something like 1,200 years before that. So no, it's over 2 millenniums.
Damn.
And imagine the Stella survived that long, and so did 4 others.
Barely.
Yeah, but out of hundreds of magically powered airships whose engines are lost in the ocean and can't be recovered, like, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, continue.
I love the question. It was great. Okay. Harris, you've also got Ross and Morrigan starred here. What do you want to know?
I'm just curious about, like, what exactly happened. Like, does the Court of Reckoning grow? Does Morgan kind of stay as, like, a more underground figure, or does she kind of make her presence more known?
So yes to both, kind of. So Ross has always been a slightly more public figure because he has been Robin Goodfellow, Puck, who briefly served the Sealy Court as like a means to an end. After Morrigan's reascension, it takes decades for her to fully like let the Feywild know that she's back because she's trying to build up her base. Eventually it does get to the point where people know the Court of Reckoning is real. Like, it's no longer a question. It's no longer like a conspiracy theory that people are like, nah, they're not real. They were gone forever ago. People know she's there, and people know she is the only goddess of the Feywild. And so she commands a lot of respect, but she does not really go out in public. She does not interact with the other courts except when it's a means to an end. There's like not a lot of social pleasantries there. She does not, make circuits of the other courts, visiting for like ambassadoring or anything like that. She's got her own shit to do, and she's not dealing with their pompous Regency novel bullshit, because that's kind of what they do. And then the Court of Flowers, or the Court of Voices, is very similar, though a little less cut off. Like, they become friendly with like the Court of Craft, because the Court of Craft is another very small court that is not self-obsessed. Morgan ends up making allies of smaller courts that are small enough that they haven't gotten a chance to be corrupted and like are useful allies. But again, not a lot of socialization. It's more of an allyship. Ross, as one of the people that like Foostrak and Jasper work with, and part of Sala and Christmas's trio, he is a little more out there than Morrigan is, but his thing has always been like gathering information and being the face of things. So, yeah, like he gets seen a bit more, but in In the Feywild, he is, of course, Robin Goodfellow. In Atlaran, he's Ross Greer. He's also known as Puck. He has a couple other names in there. But one, I did want to touch on this one. Sala gets her sort of Feywild name, too. That I don't think any of your characters would have been alive to learn about, but she becomes known as the Lady of Lochcara. Her given name by Morrigan is Brona Cara. And basically her job is to find, like she does with Tristan, find lost souls, because unfortunately Sav did irreparable damage to the pipeline of how souls move and work in this universe, and somebody needs to help the Reapers fix it. So Sala's like, alright, I'll help, and I'll make my own Reaper, which ends up being Tristan. So they kind of help with that, and she especially helps find and relocate souls from the Feywild, or those that were faithful to Morrigan in like eons past. Ben, I see you just added Row of Where.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. I have my blinker on it.
Oh, do you want to know?
No, because I
It's not
think he's gonna show up again.
Well, he disappears with Noah, or they disappear with Noah.
Like, came with me?
The Stella, Noah, and everybody aboard disappear.
When?
The same time Noah disappears.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Nobody
Does the
knows
ship go too?
necessarily. Yeah, the Stella's gone. Nobody knows where it is.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, you took them with you.
Oh. Cool.
Nobody knows if the crew actually went with the ship.
Oh, they're dead.
But people do know that Ro has not been seen again, and a couple key members of your crew have never been seen again. So most people just assume Stella, crew, and owner are gone.
Okay.
There are some fun little local legends made up by kids, especially in the southern Iroquois, that occasionally claim to see a gigantic airship hiding in the clouds, but there's no proof. Whom else? Oberon! Oh boy. So, obviously, you guys figured out that Oberon had made a pact with Sav right before you killed Sav. Oberon maintains his position as sort of king of beasts and king consort to Titania. But after Veranestra leaves, Oberon and Titania, while they are king and queen, kind of, they are married, they're definitely separated, because they just fuck whoever they want. And it was supposed to be a monogamous marriage, and it's totally not anymore. But after Veranestra leaves, Oberon does not leave the Sealy court, but he kind of stops communicating with Titania much. And they just kind of run their own sides of the Sealy court. And occasionally, once a century, it turns out into a minor civil war within this little court. So that's fun. Needless to say, by C3, the Sealy court does not rule the Feywild anymore. Technically, the Court of Reckoning does, but they don't participate in the political and social bullshit, so other courts, like the Court of Seafoam and the Court of Wonder, pretend that they run things. They don't. The next best person would probably be, the Unseelie, the Queen of Air and Darkness, but she's just a stern breeze, so she can't really do anything. Yeah. Nothing really happens with Oberon, honestly, other than his bullshit with his wife. So he'll be around to kill if you want to do it later. Let's see. Okay, so you added something in here, Harris, called the Heavy Heart, and I don't know what it is.
That's the name I'm pretty sure that you told me. It's the hammer from that Noah found in Mount Gear.
Oh, the forge or the
Yeah.
hammer?
The hammer that was in the forge.
Oh. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The heavy heart. Yep. What about it?
I'm curious about it because
Did
I
you-
don't know anything about it.
I'm pretty sure. Did Noah take it?
No.
Okay.
If Foostrak was there, he might have asked Noah to identify it,
Mhm.
to potentially use it as a weapon against Sav and then put it back.
Well, I mean, Noah
But-
definitely goes back to the Gear Forge a couple times. The
say the
heavy
least.
heart is obviously Nomira's blacksmithing hammer. It is made with really the stone and metal from the heart of Mount Gear. And the reason it is called the heavy heart is because Nomira has this reputation for being kind of not necessarily the moral center, but part of the emotional center of the Titans. He is called the Hearth Father. He's about hearth and home and comfort and family. And even though his element is fire, he is not a destructive Titan. In fact, he's one of the more creative ones. And the heavy heart was named after the armor and blades and shields of his faithful from the early days of the Balin after the Mount of Marek came to Atlaran. He melted those down along with his other materials, and they make up the head of his hammer. So those people who basically died especially members of the Manaholt Order and that became the Sentinels, and some of the first chosen and his first chosen, their equipment is melted into his hammer, and he carries them on as a memorial.
Okay.
And then Noah eventually steals it, I imagine.
Maybe.
And then you also added the plan if we tried to save Pillai Singati, if you hadn't zoomed into the fight with Ozdala.
Yeah, I was kind of
yeah.
with all of the guerrilla combat research that I did personally to prepare for that. And we didn't do any of it. I'm just kind of curious as to what you had planned.
I apologize for nothing.
Honestly,
We know.
looking back, I would rather what happened instead of the guerrilla fighting. But so Pillai Singati locks it on Master Arcanist of Nothies. She had been kidnapped, and part of the plan for you guys was to get her back before eventually closing in on Ozdala and getting rid of her. But you skipped that part, so... the plan I had was kind of already messed up by Noah. Because you guys spotted Reziel in Turisaz. You weren't supposed to. But with such good rolls, I couldn't deny you something fun. I just thought Reziel would get away, and he didn't. So the original plan was to go after Pillai Singati, and you guys end up in a fight with Reziel, which would then probably make you guys have to back off for a second before you could get at Ozdala. But Christmas had already brought out all this, let's change the whole damn city plan, so I was trying to plan for that. But when you guys skipped over the Pillai stuff and Reziel wasn't there, the obvious answer to me was, when your leader gets killed and you're retreating for your life, you're not going to drag your prisoners with you, and most of the time you're not going to let them go either.
No.
So they executed her and left her in, I think, the outer village.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm.
Oh well.
Oh well.
She was a priestess of Elen too. That was terrible.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, she was somebody I was supposed to talk to. That's why I was
you
like, yeah, we
didn't
should
have
save
to.
her.
You didn't
Well,
have to. She
I
was an
didn't
option.
I didn't have to, but she's somebody that was highly recommended to me to talk to.
If it makes you feel any better, She's honestly kind of a boring character.
No,
I made
no.
her like an old Indian grandmother who like doesn't have time for you.
That's fair.
And then the last one you got starred here is Taiylor's sword.
I did star like the Nathar for like what happened with them.
I promised you a story on that.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Taiylor. So you guys never see Taiylor again. He goes off to do his own thing. The sword he had, I told you he was a hexblade.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just give it away because it has no bearing on C3. He was a hexblade of Dulthair, the Titan of the void, the darkness between stars. The guy who, in Campaign 1, got a lot of hate because his thing was the greater good regardless of the consequences. He didn't care about how you feel. He didn't care about what you lost. It only mattered that the greater good prospered. And
but the greater good can be almost anything that you want it to be.
His ideal of the greater good was pretty nebulous too. So, yeah. Whereas Taiylor kind of accidentally ran across this pact. And it was not terribly long after Foostrak left, where Taiylor's whole thing was like, the way I do things is the right way, and it is for the greater good. And so he actively went seeking power. And he managed to convince Dulthair that he was indeed a force of the greater good, which I think Dulthair ended up regretting very quickly. Because Dulthair's not a bad guy, he lacks perspective. And he doesn't like giving up his toys, but he's not necessarily like evil, he's not cruel, he's not... He is a manipulator, though. And that was one of the themes of both campaigns. More so this one, I think. But Taiylor's sword was given to him by Dulthair, and he kind of made a thing where he already had a tattoo on his back. It's not like a sheath. It's not a weapon. But he sort of kept that like pact in this tattoo, and just he doesn't have to reach back to draw the sword. He could summon it anywhere, but he just likes the dramatic motion. And this sword would have been very similar to like Grog's sword in Vox Machina, where it was a sentient weapon that was very bloodthirsty. Except this one was a little more picky about what it ate. And eventually it decided it wanted to eat Foostrak.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that since none of us ever see Taiylor again, that pact did not last long.
No. No, in fact, the fact that he really like failed even in his idea of the greater good was really all the excuse that Dulthair needed to just take it away from him and be like, you're not doing any good for anyone, not even yourself. And Taiylor ended up living to be about, I think, 76.
Jesus.
He ended up in Western Thurgrir working on like a shipyard till he couldn't anymore because it destroyed his body because it was such hard labor. And he kind of just died alone.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Right? Yeah, all those wives that he had never went looking for him.
Can't imagine why.
No one ever married him again because he wasn't anything. He was like a stevedore at best. And yeah, he kind of just died poor and alone. Because I can't think of a better end for somebody so terrible.
I wonder if he ever ended up hearing about Wildborn Farms, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, he probably...
that's what he stewed over every day.
He had to have heard about Sav and the Nobodies and everything.
Yep. And he was mad because you didn't do it on his terms.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, maybe he shouldn't have been a piece of shit.
Taiylor is my epitome of, like, the lost boomer that you can never get back. So yeah, no, he died old, cold, poor, and alone. So, fuck him. It'll also be fun to mention to you, his horns never grew back.
Good.
Yeah, that was a little fun curse left behind by Dulthair. And maybe a little bit Helen, too. But yeah, then the Nathar. Not a super happy story, but it has kind of two endings. So the Nathar, I mentioned this to you already, when they heard of Weofin's death, maybe like half of them cared. And only maybe half of that actually like emotionally cared. The rest were just like, ah yes, another brave Nathar warrior falls and goes to Urspother. Whatever.
If only.
But the change in leadership to Torov, and eventually Razvan actually did go back to the Nathar for a short while. The sort of change overload made sure that the Nathar clan kind of split in half. Half of them wanted to stay the way things always were, which did not work out well for them because they don't exist anymore by C3. The other half actually ended up migrating back to Arborea within the next like 25 years. And those that went were sort of reunited with those that had kept the older old ways, the ways that are a little more aligned with Foostrak's. And they had to basically assimilate into the old Nathar or be homeless. And some of them were too stubborn to do it, and they also died alone. But a lot of them were either smart enough or wise enough to be like, yeah, this is probably the way we should do things. Like, actually help each other and care about each other and heal people. That seems like a good way to survive. So they continue to exist in Arborea. And by C3, there is not a plain way to Arborea, but it is in the works. And Arborea is one of those places that you can kind of just visit on a whim through the Realm Gate as well. As the Guild of the Gate opens up more like avenues of trade and culture. So things are better for that side of the Nathar clan, but the other one's gone. There are no more Nathar in Garrett Eldathos.
Okay.
Yeah. Hard dick, man.
Yeah. Ash's phrase?
It's just an odd phrase. But...
What, you've never heard that phrase before?
Is that like from the 20s?
No,
I mean,
it's
not any different than tough titty.
It is an old phrase.
It's a very old phrase.
Yeah, I mean, read
literally...
any Marvel comic from the 70s, and
yeah.
They give hard dick a lot.
Solid dick before, not hard.
It's the same thing.
It's literally the same as, man, doesn't that suck?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's where the phrase came from, because it was like, doesn't that suck hard dick? I love it. It's great. Yeah.
I did star a couple more because I
know
forgot.
You did. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's Nora and Rodri and the kids.
Yeah. Nora, honestly, you kind of summed up a lot of her story. She continued to be a blacksmith. She continued kind of plying her trade, doing what she wanted. But in her later years, gardening became her thing. And she honestly kind of just led a really quiet life outside of the work with the Peacemakers. She was never a big talker. She was like a quiet, keep to herself artist. She's the kind of person who would like not say a word to you, but like walk to whatever room you're in and just start reading because you're there. That's Nora. And she did outlive Foostrak a tiny bit, I'm talking like 2 months, tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rodri, Finn, and Vera, weirdly, because you rolled this, ended up all being magic users of different kinds. Rodri ended up actually working with Cyrus Morvain, Flameheart and Keladir's son. And they went on to kind of start their own business, a workshop, an atelier. Rodri just spent his life like designing and mending and enchanting things. And given his style of like magical abilities, he was the sorcerer, right?
Yeah, he was a wild magic sorcerer.
Yeah, given his style of abilities, he was actually really, really useful to Delphine Borago in researching residuum. Because that's like the purest form of wild magic. So he had a couple explosive, fun moments, but most of his life was spent inventing. Vera ended up being the very, like, strong, severe one. She's the one who really carried on Wildborn Ranch. And her kids carried it on, and their kids carried it on, and so forth. Wildborn Ranch still exists in C3. It's changed a lot. It actually became kind of a mix of a farm and ranch, and like also a Kyotori ranch in there as well. Being that it used to be part of the Abandoned Cret ranch. And then Finn was kind of the problem child. He spent a lot of his time. Remind me what his magic class was again?
He was a nature cleric.
He's a nature cleric. So he ended up going to learn in Constanos, and thankfully he was in and out of that place like decades before Hana Yukagara blew up Mathine College on accident. But
that's one we haven't heard.
Oh, I'll get to that. That's part of the timeline. But Finn always had a really hard time with school and like numbers and letters and that kind of stuff. But his thing was that he could visualize just about anything he wanted and make it happen. He had to learn things like drafting and architecture to make some of the things he wanted, and he had to really struggle for it to the point where I think Nora and Foostrak would have been like, oh, I don't know if this kid's gonna make it. Like, he might have to come home and like, get help here before he can really do things out in the world. But he had the immense fortune of his dad being friends with Walter Dine. And Walter Dine's wife, Amelia, happens to be a massive fan of like anything architecture and just beauty and art. And she has such a like bright and creative mind that doesn't work with numbers like other people either, that she kind of took Finn under her wing and was like, this is everything I know about architecture. And he took it and fucking ran. And by C3, one of his creations still exists. He ended up creating a kind of cathedral-esque structure, but not for religious purposes. That is kind of like a massive community and like vendor hall. And basically the reason he created it was he was inspired by the columns in Port Saris underneath Lodestone Hall. He looked at that marketplace and he's like, I want to make something that is just like that, but bigger and better. And so he created a place that he basically fought all his life to keep it open to normal people being able to walk into this market and sell and buy things without licenses, without needing to pay, tens of gold to compete with other merchants. And he basically created a free market in Constanos that is like a glorified farmer's market. And it became a community staple of Smokeway, which is one of the most like run down and polluted parts of the city. And it ended up creating like community gardens that stretched out from it and orchards within the city limits, and kind of relit the fire of Smokeway, and just made it like a place that you could actually like live and raise kids and expect a good job. So yeah, he's got his own legacy.
He basically made them all.
He made a giant farmer's market that is also like a community center, because that's what he learned growing up, was you need a community to help you get where you're going, because you can't do it by yourself.
Not always.
Well, even if you don't think you need help, there's always somebody's advice you pull from, or something somebody showed you. And basically, I wrote him to be like, kind of like he struggled with like maybe ADHD or autism. Apply whatever thing you want to it, but just that he really struggled with not learning and thinking like other people. And he ended up becoming this renowned architect because somebody saw his talent and was like, let's do this. And that was Amelia Dine.
Foostrak would have been so happy, because he wouldn't have been equipped to really be able to do all of that.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of help all along from Amelia. And then a couple other people, like Walter has a lot of connections that he could have helped with that. And also like sending Finn to Constanos to work with people like Armin Messer, who is one of the most patient teachers available to you. Like, I think that all worked out really well for him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that covers the kids.
Yeah, now that I've just hogged the whole thing.
Any other questions that popped up about C2? Okay. So then we'll get away from C2. It is officially done. Goodbye, Wanderlust. Nice.
Thank you.
Like closing the book. That was
I
understood that
idea.
reference. Yeah.
Good job.
No more spreading
Proud of
these
you.
book cheeks.
I'm smart.
Aw.
So before I pop into C3, I just want
Close
to share
the
a couple
book
things with you guys. First of all, 62 episodes total, including the 1-2-parter that we did.
Damn. Didn't make it to
250
69.
hours of content. Woo! We lost one episode,
Yeah.
which is honestly better than the 17 we never recorded for C1.
right.
Fair.
We only had
We're
one
doing better.
2-parter, and that
Yep.
was when Christmas came in.
Merry Christmas.
Other than the first episodes of the 2 campaigns, our most watched episode was The Nobodies, episode 58, which I think is very poetic.
What happened in that episode?
We named
What happened
ourselves.
in that episode?
No, that was the one where you guys were gathering up for the final fight and had like your dinners and speeches.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Episode 58, not 8. It was way late. With C1, we've streamed over 500 hours total. We have over 130 videos. We have had 9 player characters in 2 campaigns. We have from C1 to C2, we have 300 years of written history, which will become 800 with the jump to C3.
Damn.
And what else? I decided on what the actual theme of C2 was overall, because I kind of decided that C1's overall theme was redemption. Like revenge and then redemption, I guess. C2, manipulation and liberation are my 2 themes. I think those fit very well.
I thought it was family.
Oh no, Found Family is on my list too, but that was
a D&D campaign.
Yeah, it's
so of
D&D,
course
and
the
that's
theme
always
is, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I think, from the very beginning, we had loads of characters that were victims of manipulation, even if we didn't realize it till later. And you guys managed to talk down a lot of people and switch people to your side And like, even with little Jasper, like manipulated by his uncle, and then you guys helped him become, Chieftain Brothier. I think those themes fit really nicely.
Next campaign, no more talking. I'm gonna fireball
Yeah, never.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Expect nothing less.
Awesome.
So,
Good thing I took counterspell.
timeline. 502, E1AC. Sternafall. Sav is destroyed. Ilarka is destroyed. Styonyx is destroyed 5 years later. The Glacier Watch Rebellion is put down. And then the next year, Kennebec Ambro says fuck you to the Obsidian Collective, and Kit joins her. Kenna is the first to leave with her Lycari. She is fought, of course, because they're like, no, you leave, but we're keeping the Lycari. At least that's what Hana Yukigara said. But
I
she
do
was
not like
"Fuck
her."
you." Yeah,
But
no.
Hana, yeah.
She originally was like kind of a neutral character because she's the voice of the OC. But the more people started getting away from her idea of what they should be, the more adversarial she became.
Mm-hmm.
But Kenna, Kit, Nix,
She's the middle
and
manager.
Bracana, yes. Kenna, Kit, Nix, and Bracana leave in 503. Arabelle Molinarch's position comes under review due to Squall's death. She and Hana Yukigara had multiple heated debates and outright arguments about whether Arabelle is actually a collective member anymore.
Jesus.
Arabelle storms out of the collective and never returns. And she does not ever speak to Hana again, though she does work with other members of the OC. 504, all of the rest of the Lycari leave, with Flameheart in the lead. Several bearers follow until the only remaining OC members are Armin, Lee, and Hana. And then eventually Armin and Lee leave as well in 505 when the OC dissolves. Hana Yukigara, still in possession of Echo, founds a new group to do what she believes should have been the OC's mission, to maintain peace across the world. She founds the World Overseer Commission.
Oh,
this group is made up of 27 members and their chairwoman, Hana. They decommission the Originem Ex Elementis, the sort of rules of voting and intake of new members for the OC, and they get rid of it in favor of the Articles of Arcos, which lay out voting, choosing new members, and the powers of the group as allowed by each member's home continent. With 3 from each continent at all times, the group acts as a world security and mediation power. In the midst of the WOC organizing itself, Kennebec Ambro comes back and destroys Echo.
yes.
She refuses to allow the WOC to have it, and she is arrested and actually almost gets close to a death sentence because Hana Yukigara has so much influence. But Kit pops in and is like, no, and just springs her.
She's the mouse god. She can leave whenever she wants.
Yeah, I feel like she just waited to see if anybody would come for her, and then Kit popped in and was like, why are you waiting? Let's go.
Right. Girl, I know you're being dramatic, but let's go.
In 509, the Lycari, Kennebec Ambro, and Kit of Volfera are seen in a group for the last time in Port Saris, Irakel. They briefly meet up before separating across the 9 continents, reportedly going to the Anchor Trees. 10 original OC members for the 10 Anchor Trees. And then after that, no one sees them again except very specific people. Mm-hmm. And even then, I think only Christmas sees some of them, and some of them none of you ever see again. 511, Jasper begins his work on the wall that I already mentioned. 512, slavery is outlawed in Lochmanos completely for the first time in thousands of years. Thanks to the work of the Koligago clan, allies, and some other fun people. As of this date, slavery is only still legal in the Hesperian Empire, small city-states in Garel Shell, and western Garrod Eldathos. This day marked the beginning of the end for the last shreds of the Arbiters, who did have a couple people still floating around. No Arbiter encounters have been reported since 522. 525, this is important to our future Moon Elves. A battalion of Hesperian Imperial soldiers cut down the anchor tree of Savros, known as the L'Arbre au Peace, I don't remember how to pronounce that in French, or the Tree of Coins, near L'Encalcé. This was in response to a brewing rebellion. It was followed by a major crackdown across Ile d'Argent and Hesperian-controlled parts of Sonnenland. Balin worship was outlawed, and all remaining Balin temples were destroyed, overtaken, or repurposed for worship of Sonnenher, the Hesperian patron deity that is totally fucking made up.
How did Kit feel about his god's tree being cut down?
I mean,
Well,
you
not
weren't a
his
cleric
god
of Summers
anymore,
anymore.
Yeah.
That's true,
I don't
but
know.
that's how he started.
To be
Yeah.
fair, that was the tree that Kit went to before he disappeared. So, but I'll tell you what happened.
You said they went to every single tree before they all
No,
disappeared?
one of them went to each tree. 10 for
So
10.
they went to every tree then?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they took cuttings. They're fine.
5:30, Delphine Borago takes over the Borago's Brews and Balms and all the other things and renames it. Oh, here we go. A decade after the Tree of Coins is destroyed, you'll love this, Ben, reports emerged of a sapling growing out of what remained of the tree's rotted stump. Hesperian soldiers were dispatched to destroy it, only to go missing after they arrived.
Oh,
The same befell 3 other attempts to destroy the sapling until the Emperor finally gave up and ordered the area walled off and constantly guarded so not to allow people near it without imperial permission. It continued to grow for a century, becoming a 200-foot tall kapok tree surrounded by a veritable jungle of smaller trees. In the words of the locals at the time, the additional trees were planted there by hand to keep the Tree of Coins company until we can tear down the walls for good.
Nice. I
545.
like this plant a lot too.
Yeah. 545, the Rune Ring becomes the Commonwealth of Ascalon. 556, the Beryl Planeway finishes its final enchantments, and over the next 4 years, it is tested thoroughly until its opening on Diath 1st of what would have been 560 is named the start of the new era as the year 1 E2 AC. And let me tell you something fun about that. Nobody fucking decides when the new eras start. They happen when crazy apocalyptic shit goes down, like Mount Gear erupting, or Garrett Eldathos appearing out of the ocean, or the Calamity. And the fucking World Overseer Commission had the gall, the audacity, to be like, we helped support this project. It's a new era now that it's open.
Oh, I hate that.
Because they have influence over education and like how history is written across the world at this point, they made that like standard curriculum. And you know who loved it? The Hesperian Empire. Even though they are not friends. Like they're not the Hesperian Empire is not part of the like alliance under the WOC, but you can tell when it's a really bad idea when these two opposing forces agree. So yeah, the Beryl Planeway is open to the public beside the Realm Gate connecting Atlaran and the Feywild. The ends of the Planeway are beside the Realm Gate on either side, with a road leading to Amata Thelion and to Fjalheim. An interplanar railroad is being planned and tested at this time. In honor of the new connection between the realms, the WOC names the new era, which is also something you don't get to do in the moment. You name it later after it's all already happened. They decided that they were going to name it the Planeway era because they're creative. Very few people like that, since it wouldn't make sense if other planeways were established later. And in the following centuries, normal people would come to call it the Twin Worlds era, in spite of the WOC. Whereas supporters of the WOC and the Hesperian Empire tend to call it the Planeway era. It will become commonplace for normal folks to distrust Planewayers as the WOC grows more powerful and overbearing. This is my these are the flat earthers, kind of thing. So 2 E2AC, Jasper is made High King of Blaustrand, the new sovereign nation of the Blue Shore.
High Chieftain.
And what?
High Chieftain.
Yes.
You said High King.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was thinking Skyrim. High Chieftain. And one of the first things he does is to, like the Commonwealth of Askeland, grant full personhood to frost giants. And it becomes a thing that in certain places in the Lindvale Peninsula of Frosthold, frost giants can trade and live and move freely for the first time since before people colonized Frosthold, basically. So that's fun. In 5 E2AC, Hana Yukigara, still the bearer of Echo, age 91, still the headmistress of Mathline College, starts an experiment of questionable legality at the college. And later on that year, the entire fucking college explodes. Or, well, I guess it doesn't explode. It implodes.
Oh no, that's worse.
It black holes for a second. So there's nothing left. All their libraries, all their shit gone. Nobody knows where it got sucked away to. Hana Yukigara, dead. And sorry, she's not the bearer of Echo at this point. I should have taken that off. But yeah, she dead. And because of that, and because of some actions of the WOC regarding magical law, and because of the Hesperian Empire stealing artifacts and attacking centers of education all over the place, the collective global knowledge of magic begins to kind of teeter and trail off to the point where a cleric or an acolyte at a normal little temple isn't even able to cast second level spells because they just don't know how. The ways of learning it are extremely limited, and it gets to the point by C3 that some of the most powerful magic casters in the world have disappeared, like the Master Arcanists, and the new ones are not nearly as powerful. It'll basically be the most powerful casters in the public eye are they can cast 3rd and 4th level spells.
You really were hey, you made friends with all these really powerful ass people in session 10.
Yeah.
So now there's no more powerful ass people.
It's a mistake I've made in both campaigns, so I'm fixing it.
No, we are the powerful ass people.
Yeah, that's true. But that also is gonna if we get to that point, that's gonna paint such a target on our back. Especially how many people are gonna be upset about a chicken that can cast 3rd and 4th level spells?
Yeah. Also, magic licenses become a thing in some places.
Oh my god, I hate all of this.
All the bureaucracy and government.
Oh
yeah,
my
me
god.
too.
Taiylor, you didn't see Ben's comment in the chat.
No, in the chat, I'm can we go back to high fantasy? I'm tired of Republican Atlaran.
Don't worry, we are. So the weird thing is about C3, a lot of my plans are dark high fantasy. And Clarissa will make a return because I have to resolve her story.
Yes.
I can't wait for you to see what happens.
The goal of C3 is a worldwide reset.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just want to bring the government down permanently.
Yeah. Well, there's some places.
We just have to turn we have to turn the WOC and the Hesperians against each other, side with one of them, and then once one's gone, the other will be so weak we can just destroy them too.
Well, that's like asking the UN to fight Russia. Nobody's going to do anything.
Yeah, but Russia's part of the UN.
Are they?
Yes.
Why?
They're considered to be one of the superpowers, if memory serves.
It's still Russia versus the UN, though, like, at
Yeah.
the moment. Or is it NATO? Who's fucking... I forget.
NATO is who's having issues with Russia the most.
Sorry, I
right
meant
now.
NATO versus
Yeah.
Russia, not UN. Anyway. 29, E2AC. Jasper turns 105 and finishes the rune mantle, the wall around Askeland and Blaustrand. And his granddaughter, Jade, helps him lay the final stone, and he eventually hands over his position to her and passes away after Yule the same year.
Do they all have rock names?
Not all of them, but it is Jasper's family tradition.
Okay.
His children's names are Jet, Azure, Micah, and Karn, like Carnelian.
Yeah.
And then Karn is the one who carries on the tradition and names his daughter Jade.
Cute.
Yeah. But no, Jasper's wife's name is Ilya, and I believe she already has like one kid before she marries him, and I don't remember what that kid's name is, but it's not a stone.
Does Clarissa show up and kidnap Jade?
Well, now that you fucking said it,
He does
why
like to
does
collect
all
jade.
this jewelry look like it's made of cobalt bones?
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to make a big jump from 29 to 301 because this kind of
Holy
span of
fuck.
history is not that important. 301 is when Delphine dies in her big-ass explosion. Sorry, her husband's name was not Roy, it was Byron. I forgot.
They called him Roy for short.
Sure.
Roy
Royron!
And then in 322, Julian figures out the monolith engine. 338. This does not necessarily have a ton to do with you guys, but I think it's an interesting piece of history to know because this era includes a lot of civil wars.
Mhm.
In 338, the Draconian Kingdom of Val, the northernmost portion of Lochmanos, launches into a lot of problems, especially a gigantic labor movement because mining companies, am I right? The famed Kolegaigo clan, which you guys have run across many times, sort of helped out with the labor movements, and eventually a lot of people got killed because I wanted to immortalize Blair Mountain, even more than it already is. Eventually, a very young king of Val basically sent soldiers to put everybody down or put them back to work, and resulted in a massacre known as the Valerian Civil Massacres, and led to the First Cascus Rebellion, which lasted 2 years until the ringleaders were executed by firing line. Because it's fun and happy here. This actually has to do with the Moon Elves. 401, Hesperian Emperor Aelmar Sarlassian orders the execution of a large number of falsely convicted Moon Elves in Lanver Caladras. A riot broke out, and the Emperor brought out an army to stamp it out. I said out a lot in that sentence. Resulting in a famous historical event known as the Aventurine Lake Massacre. Due to the massacre, rebel factions began springing up across Ile d'Argent, eventually leading to the Zaydan Rebellion, named after the moon Zeta. 403, Liga der Kaiser Frei allies with the Zaydan rebels and nullified their Treaty of Midden, which they had set down a little over a decade before, my bad, that had ended a perpetual war. And basically they saw how badly the Hesperians were treating the Moon Elves, and they said, fuck you, and ripped it up. And they've kind of been heroes to the Moon Elves since. 404, this is where we start getting into the lifetimes of actual characters in C3. This, I believe, is like Ezra and Damien wouldn't have been alive at this point, but like your parents would have been around for this. 404, Côte de Sang. 25 major leaders and officers of the Zayden Rebellion are captured, executed, and their heads are placed on an arch in the L'Anvers market. Among them are many heroes to the Moon Elves, and they became known as the Sang Martyrs. Months after the martyrs were killed, the rebellion's Argent Home army came face to face with the Hesperian Imperial army on the Aventurine lakeshore north of L'Anvers. Emperor Sorlassian himself was in attendance and was assassinated before the battle began. His only son and crown prince Aelgrin Sorlassian reportedly took Elmar's bloody crown and sword, shoved his body off his horse, and took up command without hesitation. The Argent Home army was in the midst of celebrating what they were sure was a victory when Aelgrin called the charge. The Battle of North Shore ended with absolute decimation of the Home army. Prince Aelgrin's coronation took place in L'Anvers the next day, and he outlawed the retrieval, burying, or burning of the AHA soldiers' bodies, letting them rot in the open. Their bones can still be found scattered around the Aventurine Lake's north shore, and it is still against the law and punishable by death to interact with the remains in any way without imperial permission. The time period in which these bodies rotted is known as the Rotting of the Roses, and it is one of the most heated topics you can bring up in Caladros, because everybody will literally start swinging over it. That kind of ended, or no, that didn't end it. Yes, that ended the Zayden Rebellion. A second Cascus Rebellion took place in Lochmanos, in which a new king came into power, and he was not much better than the Hesperians, and there's still problems going on over there. This is in Ezra and Damien's lifetimes, and I believe Preston's too. 417, on the 13th anniversary of the Battle of North Shore, Adena suddenly disappeared during a full moon for exactly 25 seconds. The next day, a Fire Genasi figure that would come to be known as Adrian de Vere appeared in L'Anvers and set the skulls of the Sang Martyrs into the stone tiles of the marketplace as a symbol of defense and solidarity. She declared that Lunar Elvish would be spoken across Ile d'Argent again, and she wouldn't rest till the Isle belonged to Moon Elves again. It took Imperial war mages to remove the skulls and destroy them, showing that Adrienne had been an immense caster compared to others of her time. 418, the Emperor's only son dies in a very shady horseback riding accident the day after Adrian de Vere declared the words, "Freedom for Argent, may this era outlive the Sorlassians." In Casse, no foul play was discovered in the prince's death, but most believed it was an act of the gods or fate to show that the Empire needed to let go of Ile d'Argent. 419, Adrienne de Vere reveals herself as a changeling, which is a death sentence in Caladros. It's where Quinn came from. It's where most of the original Phaelon caravan came from, because they were fucking running from being burned as witches and monsters. She gathered over 100 unknown men and women, mostly changelings, in Dormant, Caladros, revealed her status as a changeling, declared her name, and that she was the daughter of a Sang martyr, General Lise de Sang, and that she is going to get the Moon Elf homeland back for her people. Changelings, being native to Caladros as well as Moon Elves, Sun Elves, and whatnot, this declaration of rebellion improved relations between Moon Elves and Changelings, but caused the Hesperian Empire to put out a decree that all Changelings should be killed on sight, and any Changeling body turned into Hesperian officials would earn a reward in gold. Kurvgar II of the same year, the Adenian Rebellion began, led by Adrian de Vere and the Montagne Violette Cabal. Most of the members are still unknown, but it is suspected they are primarily made up of changelings and a handful of Moon Elves. We're going to skip that bit because that's redacted. More
421 E2AC, redacted. Moving on.
Basically,
The
yeah.
whole year.
The only
It's
thing I will
redacted.
say about this redacted event is that somebody splits off from the Cabal and does their own thing, and it's very good and bad. 436, the Draconian Kingdom of Val is still at war. It's going to be that way for a while. Let me skip to when that actually ends. The Draconian Kingdom of Val is eventually dissipated into a new country known as the Republic of Valkova, under a system of government and elections and rights of the people, which is compiled into a document known as the White Rose Canon, named after the white roses used as a symbol of peace and mourning by Valkovian citizens during the rebellions and massacres and labor movements and all of that. And eventually, a descendant of the Koligago clan becomes the first president of Valkova. And let's see. What else here? Oh, yeah, and of course the WOC gets involved because they think it's their job. And they're like, hey, you're a new country. Let us introduce you to everybody and just start this off on a real weird foot. But that was in 438. In 440, E2AC is where Campaign 3 begins, the Valerian campaign, in which we will be beginning with 4 intrepid adventurers. An elephant, a chicken, and 2 pale elves, who all end up in the same place at the wrong time, all investigating the same strange thing.
What year was that again?
440 is when C3 starts. 440.
Middle C.
What?
Okay.
Middle C.
440.
Middle C.
440.
Middle
That's where
C on a
resonates
piano.
at.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Random.
440 E2 AC is when we will pick back up with Todd, Ezra, Damien, and Preston. And a bunch of NPCs that I'm deeply
Have we
excited for.
officially introduced our characters to the stream yet?
Do you want to?
I personally would prefer to do that when we're actually doing C3.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's going to be like months till we get there since we're doing a mini
Yeah, it's gonna be a
campaign.
minute.
Okay.
I will say this. We've got a sorcerer, a cleric, and basically a brawler.
At least we have somebody who can heal. That's
Yeah.
what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll also, at some point, I'm sure, have a goose. And maybe like a peacock. And maybe something with many, many eyes and a giant mouth. And
More birds.
yeah. Farmyard animals all the way down.
Yes.
And a
I'm-
robot.
I wonder if Buddy won't make an appearance.
Buddy.
The cow.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Poor
I didn't know
Buddy.
you were talking about my book. Yeah.
Or maybe Chester and his goldfish brother.
Oh, my God.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think basically C3, this is more for the stream than you guys, because you already know. C3 is going to be more like a series of small arcs, or like, not necessarily standalone adventures, but like cases that this crew deals with together. Being that one of you is a detective, you guys will have ways to get jobs relating to your particular talents, and jobs from a detective agency, and some fun NPCs that I've been working on. And then some of you will derail the whole damn thing because crazy shit is happening with you.
Oh.
And when I say
Is it
that,
me?
I mean each of you will do it at
Did
least
you?
once.
Oh, okay. I love to derail stuff. That's like my favorite.
I think Ezra is the most stable character.
I prefer railing
Strangely.
things to
Like, by
derailing
far.
things, but that's just me.
Cute.
But yeah, we don't have a timeline yet for when we're actually going to start C3 in real life. We're getting ready for a mini campaign with our very own Blake Wolfe.
Yay.
Yeah.
in which I don't know what's happening. I just know.
Do you want me to tell you about it?
I would love you to.
Okay. So buckle up, anime fans and Portal Fantasy fans, because we're going to a world that is Dot Hack meets Sword Art Online, where everybody here is going to play as themselves, transported into a fantasy world video game, where they are going to forcefully have their memories removed from them with only one chance of getting them back.
Wait, we get to play ourselves?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So I actually, when you guys are creating,
got an anime on my side.
yeah, exactly. When you guys are making characters, I want you to use your stats that we all did.
No, bro, we can't do that. I'm gonna die.
I might have to redo mine because I got a new phone and
That's
I think I
the
lost
fun
that
of
photo.
it.
This is why it's going to be fun. I am going to let you guys choose whatever race and class you want to get more buffs. That will come into play, but when we start the game, everybody will start off with flat 10s across the board with nothing.
Wait,
but don't worry, it won't be that for long.
Wait, so we do use our stats from what we did the one time, or we use all 10s?
Yes, they'll be applied to you.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Basically, we're gonna start like you guys are the equivalent of NPCs, and then the game will start.
That makes
lovely.
Sense.
I get to play a lore bard again.
I can't wait for Koop to for Koop's character to run just a little too much and then not be able to walk for 3 days.
Yeah, can I... So, as someone who's been going to the gym recently, can I redo my stats so that I could, do things like run a mile without stopping now?
Yeah.
I mean, you have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You all have 2 weeks to get in shape.
I'm actually working on it, though. I'm down. Yeah.
I'm just gonna start filming people working out, and we'll release a fun little montage of everyone getting ready. Except half of us are just gonna be sitting around reading books.
Yeah.
Yeah, just reading as much as possible.
We just get a royalty-free version of Eye of the Tiger to play over it, but then it cuts off. Koop's running. Taylor's lifting weights and stuff, and then the music just cuts away, and it's me sitting watching TV while just stuffing my face with cheese balls.
My God!
And then it comes back in, and it's Ash reading a book.
No, it's me crying.
Lovely.
Sitting on the couch crying.
Oh, and I will give you the title screen of the game. Is going to be. So it's kind of like high fantasy lettering with flora growing across it and fireflies glowing around. And it says, "Welcome to Ambria, New World Genesis."
Hell yeah.
Oh, here we go.
That is so 90s, 2000s anime.
Oh, yeah. Oh, just
put the word Genesis in it.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Phil Collins to show up.
So it's funny. It's funny that you say that because all of your quests are going to be named after songs, and the first quest you guys are going to get is called "Take Me Home, Ambria Roads."
But actually, even though that song got played to death by meme culture, I actually like that song, so I'm down.
I know it because of Whisper of the Heart.
I know it because I like the covers, but yeah.
I'm very excited about making this sound very kind of mechanical and game-ish at the same time, making it like a D&D setting. It should be interesting.
Are we going to be aware that we're characters in a game?
Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna go full Sword Art Online and be I need to go grind, guys. I can't be sitting around here chatting with you and trading turnips in the market. I need to go kill some goblins.
But I like trading turnips.
See, that's the thing that the way this is going to work is while you guys are going to lose the vast majority of your memories, you're all still going to know each other and know that you want to stay together. And I need someone in the party to drive Ash forward because I know Ash would just be I'm just going to be an NPC, you guys.
I am totally the person, because whenever I get into a new game that I'm actually interested in, if I have people with me, I'm like, okay, group mom, everybody pick what you want to do. No, you can't stay in town. It's like,
But
we need
what
to
if
go
I just want to
grind the
open up a
dungeon.
farm
No.
and raise chickens?
No.
Nope.
And
I can already tell
It's a
you, Ash,
combat-based game.
I'm going to pick some sort of beast race and I will fucking carry you into the next areas.
I am going to go on everyone's socials, and I am going to find the least flattering photos of you that I can find online, and make your character stat cards just like the ones we use for our characters.
Please don't.
For all
I'm
of you.
so self-conscious. Please no. Like,
That would
just
be
use my
hilarious.
current one on Facebook.
I will.
I actually feel good in that picture. I liked my hair and my shirt.
You got it. It'll
You
happen.
can use whatever picture you want of me, Koop.
Thank you.
We're just gonna get. You remember those like set of pictures where everybody's like close up and you can only see one eye?
Yeah.
We can use those ones.
I didn't do
Like
one
it's
of
fucking
those.
2003 again.
But
I
there
think
is one
you
of me
did.
wearing
You
a
were
propeller
like at the
beanie.
bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I can't even remember when those happened, but I feel like I saved them somewhere because they made me laugh so much.
I think in order to... Well, this is the character creation stuff. I'll wait. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, I might have to
I
redo
literally
that
have
quiz.
two choices for what I can play and actually, like, do anything.
I think I know what I'm going to do.
I will say that you guys can choose any race and class that you want. I don't care about homebrew stuff like that's published on Wikidot or whatever. You can pretty much do what you want because we're only going to be playing for 3 or 4 episodes. So I will say, you guys, we are going to start off at level 1, and I believe by the time we're done, we'll probably be at like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So
I love starting low.
I love level 1. Level 1's my favorite.
In fact, I've thought about
We
telling
start
you guys
low.
to downgrade your characters to level 1.
I would be so
Oh.
okay with that because having a chicken that can cast fireball as soon as we start C3 feels a little odd, but
What level am I starting you guys at?
5.
I think it was 3. Oh, no, 5.
Taylor, if you downgraded us to level 1, I would have to make a new character.
Why?
Why?
There would need to... That would be a conversation for the two of us.
Can't you just
That's a
rebuild him back the way he was?
significant downgrade. But that's okay.
Can we downgrade to level 3?
That's a conversation for not while we're streaming.
Because 5 is a lot, especially now that... Because when I originally decided on that was like a year ago, and that was before I knew I was going to downgrade magic.
Right.
So we might need to do that.
That'll be
Yeah, that does affect some of your
conversation
backstory
for
stuff.
not the stream.
We can work it out. It's fine. I can make anything work. But yeah. What else? Anybody else got anything crazy? Anything going on? Ben, what's
I
your
don't-
smut book?
I got another book coming out on Monday.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's called Omega's Folly. It's even more smut stuff. I think it's the last book in this series. I might do a mini one that's like Alpha's Halloween, where they like have weird,
Halloween.
intense werewolf sex.
Yeah, with one of those little boo sticks.
Oh,
Yeah. You
you said
remember
boom
those?
stick, and I thought boom mic. Where
No, I
like I
said
was like, oh, they're
boom.
recording this one.
Boo
Yeah.
stick.
Oh,
Little ghost on it. I remember we used to have
Yeah.
one, and I fucked with that thing so much because I was annoying.
mm-hmm.
Still am, but slightly less so. All right.
And then I've got another book half done, I guess, that'll be coming out later this month. So,
Damn.
woo, more books.
Hey, you still gotta
It's like
finish
it's
up
your
your
job.
chapter for
No, I know.
Atlaran. Okay.
These renovations, I'm telling you,
Okay.
we're like, I literally do not stop running all day, which is crazy to me. So, more busy now than I was.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful when you're self-employed
Mhm.
not to overstretch
Yep.
yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and the garden's all going in now too. My God,
Yeah.
so much to
I know.
do, you guys.
I do this too, where I like get excited about multiple things at once. I'm like, do all the things, and I'm like, why the fuck am I doing all the things?
No, it's fine. The bathroom's almost done. I only have to put the trim up, and then it's done. So.
But anyway, I think we've officially run out of D&D stuff to talk about. At least that's worthy of stream. I need to help Koop with his character crisis because I do think I want to downgrade the starting level. And it wouldn't make sense for any of you to be level 1, so I think we might do level 3, but I'll work that out with you, Koop. I can help you. Or figure it out. But yeah. We're ending a little early today, so if any of you guys want to fuck around and chat, I don't care. But as for the stream, thanks for joining us, y'all. Especially Corey. Like, the big thanks to Corey
It's
for
our
joining
number
us
one thing
for the Wanderlust campaign, our second campaign. Now we gotta hoof it on those books because we gotta write campaign 2 now.
Oh my god.
But yeah, we will likely in 2 weeks. I'll update the Twitter if that plan changes. But likely in 2 weeks, we'll be starting up for the mini campaign. What was the name of the world, Ben?
Ambria.
Ambria. Do you want to do Do you want to stream in 2 weeks, or do you want to have a chance at a session 0 before we stream?
We can go straight to stream. I usually just make up 90% of it. It's fine.
I mean, so do I, yeah. And honestly, a recorded session 0 is kind of fun. I will adjust a bunch of shit and probably help Koop make some stuff. If he even needs my help. I don't know if he does. And we'll set up for Ambria. And then at some point, probably 2-3 months from now, most likely, which is almost a year to the day for Wanderlust. We will start Valerian. 2 years, sorry. Mm-hmm. It's 2023, not 2022. Yep. Yeah, we'll start up Valerian with a whole new cast of characters. And I have learned so many things from Campaign 2, and I've heard your feedback, and I have learned what doesn't work, and I'm going to kill you all.
No.
No, I don't actually want to. I think your characters are not that your other characters weren't interesting, but they're a new, special flavor of interesting this time. I feel like everybody's gotten so comfortable in Atlaran, and I would hope with me as a DM that you guys are trying some really funny, cool new stuff. And so I'm really excited about these new characters, and I have been for the past year. But yeah, we'll see everybody in
bust into these dice.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
I haven't gotten my new dice yet. I need to.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Oh, but yeah, here's I just put up Magda's dice. Are in the vault.
Yeah.
Right
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully in the next couple of months I will have art for our new characters out, and hopefully some NPCs that'll be waiting in the wings. And yeah. I think that's everything, Koop.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Fantasy, it's a good game.
Stop it!
Oh my god.
I'll let it go this time.